go live. Boom. Ta-da. Well, everybody, waiting for some people to join us, if we get anyone. I had a few last week when I did this. This is Dren 608. I am doing a live stream of me playing the Unconditional Surrender module from Board Game Arena using the main event. Last week we got through the conquest of Poland and right up to the invasion of France. I had rolled Fairweather in May. I think it's May. Yes, I'd rolled Fairweather for May 1940, so we're going to go ahead and do the invasion of France and the Low Countries and all of that. As a quick recap, the Allies have been doing fairly well in the diplomacy phase. Germans managed to get Romania to be on their side. The Russians had the conquest of Norway and the conquest of Denmark both times had to take a pro-Allied marker out of Italy. So I haven't been allowed to go like pull a lot of my, and the Allies have also been pulling a lot of my pro-Axis markers and or political successes. So I am not that far along in the diplomacy game. I have a pro marker in Yugoslavia, and I think that's about it. So, yeah, there's the Russians have picked up a couple of countries. Let's see, we can go look at their card. Trying to see if anybody's online yet. Nobody's here with me, so I'm just talking to the video crowd that will watch this after I get done streaming. What was I looking for? Oh, I was going to look at the card here. They have picked up 4. They got their Eastern Poland. They've picked up Latvia and Estonia, I think. And then I had a discussion on whether you should take Bessarabia or not. There are very good players out there that say if you can avoid it, don't take it. I'm of the opinion that if there's a pro-Axis marker already in there, you might as well take it because you're not giving him a bonus marker at that point, and you still might be able to remove it, and then he has to work to get it back. So, I don't know. There's a contest of wills there on which way's the better way to do that. I like the second river line. I like having 2 river lines here to defend along. The Germans put a whole lot of, army down here, then you're just gonna run away anyway. So, I prefer to have the forward defense area if I need it. And yeah, okay. You'll notice that in this particular opening, when I opened up the game, it opens up with this much larger scaled version of the map. This is the default version, and I've left it up here instead of scaling it back like I normally do, to show you how to do that. Some of the things that you can do here. Oh, come. Is down here, there's a thing called the menu. This is your list of your, all the things that are in place and the turn and all this. This is all pretty much fixed. If you hover over these, they will tell you what all the conditions are for each, which is very nice. You don't have to look it up in the rules. He's got them basically quoted right here. Okay. In the menu item, you can come in here, and then the other nice thing is he's got these pop-up boxes like declarations of war and stuff are movable, so you can get to things like the menu, which is not movable, I don't think. No, it's not movable. And if you click on it like that, it goes away. So let's bring it back up. Some of the things you can do is you can, like, let's take off the units and see if there's any markers, okay? If there are markers on the board, you could take off the markers. That's like the political successes and control markers and things if you're trying to see the name of a city. You can save these games. Even if you're playing competitively, you can save a game on any given turn. And then you can load that game back into a solitaire version of the game where, where you're just playing like I am here against yourself, essentially. And, replay it from that point and see what might have been a better play if what you did failed. A lot of people like to do that, like late in the war to see what's the best way for learning purposes to going forward. Okay. Then what I was going to show you is this here is it starts off right here, and this is the size here. Now, obviously, you can go even bigger if you want, but I tend to need to see more of the map, so I usually go down at least one, sometimes two, especially if I'm dealing with someplace like Russia, where there's so much, like a unit down here may be needed up there, but if I'm at this level, I can't tell that I really need to get a unit up to the north because I've got everything's focused down here. So I tend to leave it out at least here, at least one down off the original, and sometimes two, um, to give you a sense of the whole battlefield that's involved. Now, in the case of the invasion of France, we can actually zoom it in one because everything's going to happen right here. You just have to remember you have things like an airplane up here and people up in Norway that you probably want to move around. So, be that as it may, and it's been about 7 minutes, and I don't have anyone currently on the views. So this is going to end up being much more of just a recording, it looks like. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get moving along here. So one of the things to check before I do declarations of war, let's go down here. Since I know I have not gotten a lot of allies to fall my way and stuff, we're going down and look at the political cup, which is down here below the cards. There's 4 no events, 2 areas seized, a pro-axis, and 1 political success. The thing that's in my mind is this political success. Political success and a political failure, either one of those in the cup, can be a bad thing for the Germans. If the West pulls this, they're going to put a pro marker in Italy again, trying to get it on their side, right? So that actually forms up how I'm going to do my declarations of war. Most Germans would knee-jerk react and just declare war on Belgium and then declare war on the Netherlands. I can't do that because I'm shy on chits in the cup, and there's a possibility that the West could put a pro marker in Italy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to declare war on, where is it? Belgium. And it will ask me, do you really want to do this? Yes, I do. And it tells you, okay, set up this guy. Conventional wisdom. I've never found a better place to put him. I don't think anybody else has either. We've just put the guy on the hex that says Belgium. 27, what is that? 14, 15, 16, 27, 17. He's in a swamp hex, so the Germans will be -1. I have some ground support, so I'll be +1. It's still going to be something like +5 to +1. So odds are way against me getting anywhere there. And then that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to declare war on the Netherlands. And the reason why is once I get through Belgium, next turn, because it's going to be June, I might have fair weather, I might not. But if I need to either get another chit in the cup because the Allies pull both of mine, or the West pulls a political success and puts a pro marker in Italy, for instance, I can immediately, because I'll be behind the Netherlands, there won't be really a place for him to defend. to have even a chance of stopping me, even in poor weather. It will be, oh dear, excuse me. It will be just a matter of me just walking in to take a hex. And that will conquer the Netherlands at that point. So we're going to stop here on our confirmations, on our declarations of war. And we'll move right along to giving points. Now, at this point, I don't really need to do anything with the Romanians. So I'm not going to give them any points. They're kind of pretty much set up for the possibility that if I need to, again, if I need to get a fast conquest in, I can move a German infantry over here, and between the infantry and the 2 Romanians, we usually can take out Bulgaria. Again, that's to try and stop something like Italy coming into the war. It's very kind of important. So I'm not going to give them any points this turn in May of 1940. Now, the West can. There's no reason to give a point to the Belgians. There is one of the things I like to start doing as soon as I'm pretty sure that the West is going to be invaded is with the UK, I go ahead and give one to France even though they may not use it this turn to get myself in the habit of operating on less points because that's important. And Constantine is in. Hey. Glad to know that my voice is coming through. I didn't have anybody on the feed. I was just going through a discussion of declarations of war and why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. So I'll go over it again real quick. If you look down in the cup, there's a political success, which means the West could pull that and put a pro marker again in Italy. And then like the Soviets could put another political success in, and then the West can be trying to get Italy in. And I only have 2 possible successes, political success and a pro axis marker, which means the West and the Soviets could actually pull all my markers. So with those kinds of things in mind, I only declared war on Belgium. I did not declare war on the Netherlands. So that's the reason being is that then next turn, if I need it, I'm right there to go ahead and declare war and take out the Netherlands, and I can get rid of that pro marker if they place one like in Italy or something like that, and or add one to the cup that they can't deplete. So it's sort of a chain reaction thing on the way I do it. If I had already gotten, say, Yugoslavia and Italy was leading my way, I probably would just go ahead and take the Netherlands right away. But this way, I can kind of control when I add things to the cup and whether I can react to something that they do to me. Okay. And I just had the British, the Germans decided not to give anything to the Romanians. The British gave one to the French. And as I said, it's just to get me in the habit of doing that for the Battle of France because the French usually need that to move guys and replenish their airplanes and all that kind of good stuff. So we are done with doing that. Now we're going to be doing strategic movement. This might seem a little odd to some people, but I'm going to... Do I have one? I thought I had an extra. Oh no, I have him in Norway. Okay, so no, I guess I'm not going to do what I thought I was going to do. Okay, I thought I had a garrison there, but I have a real infantry, so never mind. So I'm not going to have a strategic movement with the German. The West. Now this is, some people will go ahead and take a French army or even the British army and put it like in Antwerp. This is a bad idea. If you put it in Antwerp, the Belgians have no place to retreat to because I did not. They can't go into the Netherlands. It's neutral. So I got to leave them a retreat route, right? Now you could say, well, then I'll put them in Brussels. Well, then the Germans will just go ahead and they can just go ahead and directly attack Brussels. This guy will be eliminated when he takes it because it falls. And then they're that much closer to dealing with all the Frenchmen, and they don't have to waste attacks on the Belgians. So either way, it's not really a good idea. Also, if you end up in Antwerp, if he takes out the Belgians, takes Brussels, They can push you out of Lille. Antwerp could very well end up being isolated, and you just lose a unit for no real good purpose. So I tend to not bother. I tried it a couple times, and it never seemed to work out well. It was just an army that I lost here that I could have had to slow them down coming across the Somme, Marne, and the Seine. So I'm not gonna go there this game. I'm gonna say no, thank you. I'm pretty happy where I'm at for the initial invasion of Belgium. The Russians, do we have any shenanigans with the Russians to do strategic movement? Well, we can, but there's really no point to it they can move them to. So I'm just going to say nah. And then we're into the Germans' action subphase. So here we go. This is where everything starts to happen. Some of the things that you have to make sure you do is, number one, you need to get these far-flung airplanes have got to come home, so to speak. And we know that because of the placement of the French air, there's only one place that we can counter it right now. So we're going to go ahead and put this airplane right here. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and get started on the French air. So we're going to go here, and we're going to hit the airplane, not the fleet, not the convoy. I don't care about the convoy. And let's see. Now he's a +1, and I'm a +1, and he's a +0. Because I'm down a sortie. That's why I'm not at a +2. And we roll, and we say commit. And I had a terrible die roll. He rolled a 6, and I rolled a 2. So I took 2 sorties for that. Now that's very, very bad for the Germans. Because now they're going to have to waste a sortie here that they should have been able to use on someone else. I will be at -1. He will be at -1. He could do 2 more sorties on me, which means I would not have this guy to fly many other sorties. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and fly him over here and be done. And I'm going to bring in a fresh airplane. Maybe. It takes forever. Okay. And now we're going to have him go ahead and take on this airplane. Now I'm a +1 to his -1, so hopefully I won't get another one of those. There we go. That's a little better. So I got back the AS2 he did on me. I did a DR2 on him. So now we will, we do have to try and sort of finish him off because we can't have him interfering with any possible last round attack on the French. So that's why we just keep on doing this. We're at a 0. He's at -3. So hopefully we're going to, yeah, we get that. And yes, we are going to go ahead and use ourselves up because this guarantees that that French air can't get in our way. Let me go ahead and commit. Okay. There we go. Now we do know that there's going to be a French air coming up because when I did that over here in the log somewhere, when I went and attacked the airplane, where did it say it? Oh, the log is very long. There's my action subphase. Right here. West invaded, conditional event is triggered. So they now can move anything that's in the med, they can move it around. They're going to get some reinforcements for the French. They're going to get an airplane and things of that nature. So, and it will show you everything. It will register it in the log when it does all that stuff. Excuse me. Get a drink there. So now we're getting ready to go ahead and do the ground combats. First Panzer is going to activate and move 1 hex. And he's going to attack the Belgium first. It's kind of important that you clear this out so that your other armies can file through. This is a very narrow gap. So you're going to need to get rid of the Belgian and then try to push this guy out of Sedan. If you can push him out of Sedan, then you can kind of filter some German infantry and stuff in here and have a pretty good line. To start June, hopefully it will be fair then, but if it's poor, you'll still be able to do a decent assault, and then you'll be ready for July where you'll be able to just burst across. So we're going to go ahead and use this airplane here that has no sorties because my other two are at 4. So I'm trying to even out my sortie usage. So we're going to use this one, and he can get there because he can fly around. 1, 2, 3. He can fly. Get that. So he goes 1, 2, 3 to get there. So he can do that. So I am +5. At this point, the Allies don't really have anybody else to use the ground supports on, so they might as well go ahead and use it and see if they can get a lucky split. You know, a 1-6 split or a 2-5 split, something like that. Even a 3-5 split would hold the hex for a turn, and you want to make these panzers spend their movement points attacking the Belgians, not the French. Because the French are the ones that matter. The Belgians, sooner or later, will fall, but if they can make the Germans, say, take 2 attacks or even 3 attacks to conquer them, then you're doing really well with the Allies. So that's what we do. Everybody commits. And I got a DR. See, I rolled a 1. And now that's 6. If he had not had the +1, a 6 to a 1, total net 6 to a 1 on the combat results table. If you've got yours handy, you can take a look at it. It's actually a DD. So this saved him just being a retreat instead of being flipped and retreated. Now, the Germans have to take this hex so that they can, because they need to, even if they just get a retreat out of this guy, that's good enough because then they can take Brussels and that will conquer Belgium, which is what we're trying to get to. So we're going to keep on attacking here. And now this airplane can reach because he can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to use him up again, and we're going to confirm the attack, and we're going to commit to the attack. Oh, I messed up. I should have actually played my... it wouldn't have mattered because a 6 to a 10 is still a retreat. But I really should have taken the... used the ground support. I totally forgot. But now, this is something I'm not going to take Antwerp. I am going to take Brussels because that immediately conquered Belgium. Okay? Now, the only thing, I don't have anything to take off of theirs. The only little thing I can do is I can put a pro marker in the Netherlands. I'm going to conquer it anyway, probably, but I'll go ahead and put it there just for aesthetic reasons. And then I'm going to stop here. And now this is probably the far more critical combat that's going to come up. Is I need to take the 2nd Panzer. And I need to move him in here. Now, I'm only going to get 2 attacks. Because it's going to cost me 3 points to attack here twice. Or each time. And the first time I'm going to be facing his tanks. So I'm going to go ahead and attack. Again, I'm going to use that airplane. And of course, the French this time are going to use their tanks. They're trying to get... They're at +3 and I'm at +5. It is... Is it possible on a 6-1 split? If I get a 6... Yes, on a... no, it's not. I have just enough pluses at +5 that even if he's... Oh, he's +3. So yeah, if we get a 6-1 split in his favor, a 1 for the attacker and a 6 for the defender, he would get an AS result, which would stop the entire offensive right where it is, because I don't have any hexes to move through, because I didn't declare war on the Netherlands because of the political situation. So that's why you throw the tanks right now. You're trying. It's a 1 in 36 shot to stop him cold, but you're definitely going to make him probably attack twice, which is the idea. So everybody's committed. Right. Yep, +5 to +3, so here we go. And I rolled a 7, and he rolled very badly, kind of like my first attack with the Germans. Rolled a 1, so you rolled a 1 and I rolled a 2, and the pluses were enough to force a retreat, which is what you need because now you have to take this. Now, the most important thing here is now down this rail line. I mean, I can have infantry go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and sit in Antwerp, so you won't be able to take that port from me. I could probably even have an infantry go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think I have anybody close enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, don't have anybody close enough to actually get off an assault onto Lille. But that's what this. Now that I have 5 movement points remaining, I'm going to go ahead and try and do sort of a mini breakthrough with this German. I'm going to go ahead and attack here again at this Frenchman, because now he doesn't have any tanks left. Use up that airplane one more time. Confirm the attack. And he doesn't have anything to commit, so... And I got super, super lucky. Here's a 6-1 split. These are the nightmares of the West. A 6-1 split at this point. My 12 to his 2 is a DE. You can look it up on the combats chart. I'm going to see if I can't, like, bring that up somehow, so I can show this on the streams. But it's ridiculous. According to the rules, economic reforms marker at first put 6 turns later than every 4 turns to the end. Is it right, or have I understood correct? Yes, that's true. That's actually a modification that we talked with Sal about because we felt that the Germans were not able to, when he got to like late 44, and they were being bombed the bejeebers out of. So they were like down 6, 7, 8 factories. They were only getting it, they used to only get it every 6 turns, just like a Lend-Lease, which means that they never, number one, they never could get to maximum factories because of the timing. And number two, it was coming so slow that it made the Germans not able to even put up a fight because they would be down to like, I think what it was 15 minus 8 or 7. So they had like 16, maybe they would get to like 20 production points, which means that their Air Force from late 40, sometime in 1944, their Air Force just ceased to exist because they didn't have the points to even try and bring any airplanes back. So it was just a bunch of airplanes with 6 sorties on them. They had to have 2 in Germany for home defense, but other than that, they didn't even bother. And they could barely move their armies around, and they certainly couldn't rebuild anything. And it made it basically very easy for the Allies to just walk through Germany because the Germans couldn't do anything. So that rule got changed. That was quite a while ago. That rule got changed so that the Germans at least have, if you take out if you get the Germans up to 9 lost factories, and say you take Metz and Königsberg, which is not an unreasonable situation to be in. So the Germans are at 13 factories, and they're down 9, so that's 4. But sometime in the middle of 44, around April of 44, they will have 6 extra factories. So 4 and 6 is 20 points. Okay? 20 production points is enough for the Germans to be able to move a few armies, maybe rebuild a couple armies, and maybe do something with an aircraft. Okay? And that was the general idea, is they wanted the fight for Germany to be real. And by the end of 44, the Germans could have, let's see, it's 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. They could have 8 extra factories. Okay? So that when you're going into them in 1945, as you go after the Germans in 1945, they actually have enough points to fight back. So it becomes a much more even contest. And that was the whole point. Now, in some of the games that I've been playing lately, the Germans are so far ahead that accelerated rate is insane. They're at, I'm in a game right now where they have 40 production points, and it's the middle of 1944 because they're that far ahead of them. In the strategic warfare, they tried a specific stratagem that seems to have worked. I think I kind of walked into part of the problem of it, but that's my fault. Anyway, this is a defender eliminated, so woohoo for the Germans. Now the Germans have to make a decision here. They're definitely going to take the Hacks. But because they're in a no enemy zone of control, they can do things. They could try to attack this guy with, one of these airplanes helping out. Or they could just move to try and make room for everything. Like they could cross the river. Now, if they cross the river, there's a good chance they might end up getting wackerdoodled because there'll be Frenchmen coming. So you're going to have to pour German infantry in, but you're going to do that anyway. German infantry's coming in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's going to be another one that goes over to Antwerp, and then there's going to be another one that's going to come in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4. So I'm going to be semi-aggressive. What do you guys think? Should I just do the attack? For my own self, I think I should. I've already eliminated one French army. If I can dislocate this one. See, the problem is if this attack fails coming across the river, because I'll only be +5 to his +1. If I fail to make him retreat, if I get a really bad die roll, then I'm stuck on that side of the, what is that, the Seine? The Marne. I'm stuck on the north side of the Marne. Oh, that's another thing I want to show you. When you're looking for stuff and the counters are over top of it. Oh, come on. You can come down here to this little menu button. You can say, get the units off the board. And then take the markers off the board. And then you can read what's there. Oh, you can't here because I have choices. But you can see that now you can see what everything is. By the same token, if you take the units off, you can see, oh, he's sitting on a no enemy zone of control, and you have control of these cities and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice that you can do that, and it only stays off for a few seconds. So it's a nice little feature of that. Hello, Allison Matthews. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I think I want to cross the river with the tank, and then I'll support it with a whole bunch of infantry. The infantry will get 1 attack, but they'll only be +3 to +1. So they probably won't get across the river. But if the armor's across the river, there's a lot more things he can do because he can attack back without river bonuses. So we're going to... Oh, first I have to click on this. I'm not going to attack no more. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Now I hit this. So now technically I'm out of supply, but that won't last very long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go ahead and take the 14th. Hello, 14th. We're going to go ahead and move to here. And then we're going to go ahead and attack into here. And we will use, let's go ahead and use the 3rd lift. Everybody's at 4, so we're going to use the guy that's, start trying to use up the guys that are the farthest away, I think. Is he farther away or is the other one? See, now I got to look at my map. See, this is important to look after. See, the 2nd lift is probably going to end up being the one that's furthest out from any kind of being able to help in the future. So we're going to go ahead and use up the 2nd lift instead. Because he's farthest away and can just barely reach. So he will confirm that attack. He has nothing he can play. So you see I'm +3 to +1 is all I get. Oh, and I got very lucky. I got a DD Defender Disruptor. This is bad again for the West. This is going very, very terribly. This is almost like the real war where everything just went to, hell in a handbasket. So now I got to count Germans. 1, 2, 3. This guy here can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could get adjacent to Paris because I won't be here to block anything. He could also go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, get across the Marne, but he wouldn't be able to attack me if I'm here. Wow, this is crazy. Very, very good German breakthrough here. That DE was essential. I think I have to go behind the river because I can't afford to let him. If you count this guy here, the second can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He could get across the river and attack me if I went to this hex. And since I'm flipped, I'll be -1, and he has an airplane here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He would be +4 to -1. Not a good idea to possibly get this unit eliminated through even a DD would eliminate him. So even if the Germans couldn't advance because of supply issues, just killing that unit is more than enough at this point. So I think I'm going to have to retreat behind the river so I can't get attacked again this turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7, 8. The problem is you can get across the river no matter what I do. So I'm in a world of hurt here, kids. France is going to fall extremely fast, which is going to give me lots of options. Now, this German infantry is going to go ahead and advance because I can't really get here to attack him. And this keeps him from, in his turn, being able to just, like, move someone in here to mess with me. Now I have lots of things I have to do here. One of the first things I'm going to do is try and see how far back I can go. Oh, stop that. Stop that. Ah, so the guy that's all the way back here, the 12th, can march all the way to Antwerp. Now, if I don't take him, if I undo that, if I take somebody that's closer. Oh, come on, undo. It's giving me a fit here. No. Yeah, the dice have been giving me a real blitzkrieg. Consider this is the kind of die rolls the Germans had when they did theirs. Except they had the whole French army up here to knock out and disrupt. That is one of the things that I do with the French army. By being back this far, I do have a reserve to move and block the runs that he can do. So where can the second go? See, if the second goes here, he still can't attack. So I have no infantry that can get to Antwerp and attack Lille. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it with the guy way in the back just so that he can't take it back from me. The reason why Antwerp is important is they do get a surprise attack marker. And from Antwerp, you can actually attack things like the hexes next to Bremen and Hamburg. Which is why you see me having garrisons lying around here, just until I know that I have this secured. I'm paranoid. Same thing with if he had something in Stavanger. He could, 1, 2 C zones. He can bounce all around here. So I have sort of a mini reaction force to contain whatever comes and then wait for the tanks and the aircraft to come actually clean them out. So we're going to just go grab Antwerp. Nice thing about the game is it shows you the movement path it takes in the BGA module. So that's a good thing. Now, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can go. We can have the first go and try and do this. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, it is possible for me to take the second army here, or the 10th, or what is that, the 18th? I think the 18th can do it too. If you click on the 18th, See where I can get to? I can go all the way to Dijon. You might think, go, go, go. If I go to Dijon, I will be out of supply. Okay? Not a good idea. German units out of supply get attacked and tend to die. Also, they're not very useful the following turn. So while it looks really good to go take Dijon, I would not be in supply because this rail line doesn't go back to Germany because of this hex right here. Where you see my little you can't move here thing. That hex and the rail line up to Calais and back. These are the only supply routes out of here. So right now, these guys are 1-2 to Sedan, 1-2 to Sedan. They're okay. If I take Lille, I can usually get all the way down to like Paris. But still, this hex right here and Calais keep me from going any deeper into France and staying in supply. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, if I went all the way to Dijon, he probably would abandon this fort. Move this guy to here. You can abandon this fort here. This guy can come up here. He can get probably 3 attacks, and remember, he's going to have an airplane with 4 sorties on it, so he's going to be able to use an airplane at least once. I will be at best a 0, maybe 2 if I use an airplane. And he should have at least 3, maybe 4 attacks on me, which means he has a chance of flipping and or killing the German infantry. And I don't particularly like to sacrifice German infantry. So I'm going to have to think long and hard about whether I do that or not. So I'm going to save that for later. We're going to see how well we do on pushing him out of Lille and maybe even pushing him out of... I'm not sure I even want to bother to try and take out Paris because you can't, again, same problem. If I can push him out of Lille, then I can probably put an infantry here and then I could try to push him out of Paris, and then I would have, because Paris would be 2 from Lille. So I have to get him out of Lille before I decide anything else. Who can get to Lille with... He can get to Lille with 1 attack, because that's all I really can do. Which is what we want to do. So we're going to go ahead and attack here. Again, we're going to use up that guy that's in the back that can barely reach all these hexes. So we are net +3 to his +1. Can we get him to retreat again? Aha! The French have decided to fight for northern France. They didn't fight real well for Sedan and the Marne, but they are fighting for northern France. So that kind of ends the whole idea of going after Paris this turn, because I would be out of supply if I took Paris. Again, not something you want to be in a situation where you're out of supply at this point, because you haven't negated all the French air. They're going to get one immediately. But I think I will go ahead and put a guy here. Now, I might not be able to take Paris, but at +3 to +1, I might be able to get him flipped, which is, you know, makes him less deadly in any kind of counterattack. Who knows? I might even just take Paris and take the chance. Take Paris and take Dijon. And let the chips fall where they may. Probably a very, very bad idea. Well, it's not April, it's May. It's May, Constantine. It's May 1940. April, we had lousy weather. And I got fair weather here in May, so I decided to go ahead and start the attacks in the west. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so he can't help. He can't help. So it's got to be this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Now, there's no way at +1 to my plus 3. I cannot get a DE. I can get a DD, but I cannot get a DE because the minimum he's going to get is a 2. And if you look at the combat chart, a 9 to a 2 is a DD. That's the best you can hope for. I think I'm probably just going to retreat him, and then I'm going to have to make a decision. So we're going to commit to this. And I don't even have to make a decision because I rolled a 1. So I had a net 4, and he rolled a 4 plus 1 is a 5, so I'm not going to even have to worry about whether I should take Paris or not. Now that is a question. Do I want to send an infantry into low supply to take Dijon? It seems like it's almost necessary. What do you think? What do you guys think? Should I go ahead and do it? I'm trying to think what I would do with the French. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 1 attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 2 attacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can only really get 2 attacks off. If he saves this airplane. Interesting problem. The British can't get there because by pushing the first out of the Marne, I think I can almost hold Dijon. We're going to try it, and then we're going to see if we can come up with a way with the French to kick me out of Marne. So we're going to run around the corner and go here. Yes, we know we're going to be in low supply, but we're going to take the chance anyway. Now, I'm down to, what have I got? I've used a bunch of points. I'm down to 19. I've got some very specific things I need to do here. Okay. Pretty much I have the front line kind of packed up, right? One of the things you need to do is you need to make sure that the French don't decide to just try to do a suicide attack into Germany and make your life miserable. Okay? One of the ways you do this is all these extra garrison units. Maybe. So like this garrison unit can get to here. So that's a good thing. Because that keeps him, if he comes out of the fort, he's got to attack me into the forest. Okay? This garrison unit is going to go over here. And the same thing. In order to get out of this fort, these guys can't move into this hex because they wouldn't be leaving the zones of control they started in. So that lets me move the 7th now, like all the way to Sedan. Okay. And then the 9th is probably just going to go ahead and move up. Where should I put it? I don't want to put it in this. I think I have to put him in this hex because I don't want him to do shenanigans of like trying to pull a fort out and coming in behind me or something to try and cut my supply. So we're just trying to keep the French from doing any silliness. We want them to go backwards. We do not want them to try a suicide run into Germany. They might still do it, but they would be like 0 to 0, and this one would be -1 to 0. So At -1 to 0, I can't get killed, and here it's a 1 in 36 chance that he can get a DD and kill him. And then he would be able to run off to Frankfurt and Stuttgart, and then I just have to bring some infantry back and just beat him up. So we're going to do that. Now I'm down to 15, so I'm going to do this. First off, normally I wouldn't keep this guy up here. What's my, hang on, I gotta check my, how many sorties do I have on my transport? Hello. Okay, my transport has 4 sorties on it, so that's not good for supply purposes. First off, we're going to have the Nor go ahead and take Stravenger. And then we're going to move ourselves back down the road. Now, the reason why I'm not sitting there and garrisoning Stravenger, I want the British to use their surprise attack marker when it comes up to take that city. I can contain them and ultimately beat them down and kick them out of Norway. However, their surprise attack marker costs 20 production points. They have, once the West is invaded here, starting next turn, they'll have a maximum of 16. Until 6 turns later, where they'll go up to 22, and that's assuming they take no strategic warfare losses. So it is highly unlikely, at least me as a British player, I will not use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I will not use the surprise attack marker for something as silly as Norway to invade it, because it makes no sense. I mean, that is a huge threat to things going on in the Mediterranean. Now, let's say, I get Italy as pro-allied and the Germans just can't pull anything, and they're starting to go into Russia without Italy active. Then maybe I would go ahead and send something up towards Norway, because I got nothing else better to do with the British Army. But right now, with not the uncertainty of where Italy is going to stand, if Italy comes in against me, that surprise attack marker can be huge on cutting up the Italian supply and things of that nature. And the general threat of even having one tends to make the Germans have to be a little bit cautious and defend various coastal areas. Add that to if they do really well and you need to have to come back from one of the off-map boxes to take something like a Basra, Kuwait, or the Suez or something, you have it in your hand to be able to do that. Especially done when the Germans go into Russia, because they're a little busy when they're in Russia. Okay. I think I am pretty much done with the Germans. I am saving a few points for French counterattacks to flip me. This guy here won't be able to be replenished if he gets flipped, because he'll be in low supply. But if he does, like if he hits on the second or something, or hits one of these other infantry, or even my armor somehow, if he can somehow get those guys flipped, I'm going to have points in my hand to be able to flip them back over. And it also has a fair amount of points there to take care of my aircraft. So I think I'm done. It's been spectacularly good, May. And I think the Germans are going to just say, let's just say we're done. Okay, I'm not going to eliminate any of my units. So I'm going to confirm that. Now, this is a neat little trick you can do. As soon as you hit any of these supply buttons, you can't get out of the supply phase. Let's say you come here and you look and go, oh, wait, that guy's out of supply and I can move somebody to make him in supply. If you do an undo right away, I think, unless he's changed it, you can get back to your actions phase, okay? But once you start supplying units, all bets are off, because he's already recorded things and he's basically past the point of being able to undo what you just did. Especially if there's any opposed convoy type where the guy can intercept you, which you should see in the west here in a second. So we're going to skip that. get the supply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say supply all unlimited, it's basically unlimited supply sources, but not using any convoys. So I do that first. And it gives me a much smaller box. Now these are guys in Norway, okay? And this is the guy that can't be supplied. He's this one. So him, we just have to say no supply this turn. He's going to go to low supply. And then it'll pop the box back up. Okay. So, see Allison Matthews is on here. Welcome, Allison. I don't know if you joined us last week or not. Now, this is going to seem odd to some people, but I'm going to go limited supply for both of these guys this turn. And that's because I'm trying to preserve my my stuff. Now here, over here, you can see the West invaded conditional event occurs. Over here in the column, the Commonwealth trade markers coming in 6 turns. Their Lend-Lease markers are coming in 12. And the policy evaluation, the Russians will start rolling 13 turns from now, which means in June of 1941, the Russians can roll and possibly join the war. Hopefully, I will be done with the West, done with my shenanigans in between the West and the East, and be ready to go by June of 1941. The goal is actually to be ready to go in May, especially if you get a fair weather in May. But you can't always get all your armies marched where you want them to be fast enough. Especially if you're playing around trying to conquer a minor here or a minor there to get political chits in the cup so that you can possibly get in Italy or a Turkey or a Yugoslavia on your side. So that's usually what it is. And then the last thing that happens is the French get stuff. They get an airplane. It is mobilized by the rules, and mobilization by the rules says that it has to be placed in a city with four sorties. Now, I do have a low supply guy here. There's a very low chance that I will see the Italians come in this turn because they don't have a pro marker in there, so they can't get in with one pull. There's no political failure to trigger. So I'm going to be able to move the Alpini off to help me try and take Dijon back. So normally, when I place this airplane, I would place it in Le Havre because it's the same problem with the Germans. They have to get somebody further forward. If they come further forward than where I have these airplanes right now in a line, if they come any further forward, they're in range of the British Air Force based in England. So they have to kind of watch where they're sitting, okay? And then I'm going to show you some shenanigans here. But so normally I would put this guy in Le Havre, but I'm going to need him down here to help me try and take back Dijon. So we're going to actually put him this time in Vichy. It's not, to me, the optimal place to go, but in this case it is because the world blew up here in central France. And then we have to confirm. He has a lot of confirm buttons. Don't just don't blindly click on a button in this app, because going back is many times not possible. Okay. It's definitely worthwhile to read what's going on, because if you have a chance to undo what you just think you just did, and you look at the map and go, that's not what I thought I did, undoing right at the point of attack is much easier to do. Okay, so now we have a bunch of issues here. French are already down 15 will points, two cities and an infantry unit. They need to be able to do something here. So first thing we're going to do, 3, 4, 6, yes. So first thing we do is we take Fighter Command. And Fighter Command can actually base here. Because that's 1, 2, 3 hexes from a hex in England. So that means I'm maintaining my home defense, whatever. The reason why I want to be here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, I could have sat in Calais instead, because I can still reach him. So let's back up. So it should let me back up to that air move. We're just going to go ahead and move into Calais. But I can base that far forward if I need to like reach German aircraft. But that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to negate these German aircraft. I don't care even if I lose the combats and don't get wins. If I just go +1 to +1 each, I will be happy. So I took him down 1. I will take him down again. Let's say you're using up all these British air sorties. Right now, negating the German air is far more important than me preserving British air sorties. Remember, I'm going to get another airplane in the middle of 1940. So at that point, depending on where I need to place it, I should be fine. I still have one more to do. I still see a sortie here. So I need to go get that one. What this does is it allows the French to use their airplane to try and take back Dijon. See, even though I got an AS2, I got what I wanted. He's at 6 sorties on all his airplanes. And I'm at 5. Now, to make my life a little bit easier, normally I would fly back to London. This time around, I'm going to stay here so that I can get down to 3 sorties. Okay? Rather than being at 4, because 3 sorties might become important, again, in my turn, to undo any German aircraft that are left over. So I'm just going to stay here, and I'll use 2 convoy, sorties to supply both of those units. And we'll get to that when we get to supply. So now the French have to do their thing. Okay, they've got an airplane. This guy right now can retreat to here, which is probably what we want him to do. So he's going to be a 0 because he's in low supply. As much as I hate to leave the Italian border, I think I have to. So I'm going to start with the Alpini. He's going to move up to here. And he has the ability to attack. It doesn't matter whether I call it an assault or well, maybe it does. If I call it an assault, and then I move this guy, should we go all for 1? Or do we do 2 attacks? So I can attack here at +2 to 0, and then I could attack at +1 to 0. I think we're going to take it as 2 attacks, just in case this one doesn't work. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to throw the airplane in. So I'm a net +2, and he's a net 0. We're going to confirm the attack and commit and see if we get a retreat. And we did. 2 + 2 is a 4, and the Germans rolled a 2 + 0 because of their being at low supply, and so we kicked them out. Now, I need to think about not next turn, but the turn after. Who, if anybody, will I have to sit on the Italian border? You got to plan for the worst in this game, okay? It's going to happen to you if you don't. I don't know how many times I've done what I've just done here. I brought the Alpini up, I took back Dijon, I have a semi-line, and then like 2 turns later, the Italians come in for whatever bizarre reason, and there's like nobody on the French border, and nobody can actually move there because the Germans have everybody else pinned up. So it's one of those things you got to kind of think a little bit ahead for Normally, Bad Alpenny for me just sits on the Italian border and just never moves. But because of the breakthrough in the center, I had to move in this turn. So we will go ahead and take Dijon back, because that's probably the best thing I can do. I am at a problem because I'm already on the Seine here, so he's heading towards Vichy and things, and he still has enough infantry and stuff to push towards the north. Now that's the one thing, is that he can't really push this far south. If he takes too big of a sweep south, everybody's going to go in low supply, and then they become half moves and don't get their +2s because they're -2 for being low supplied. That's part of the problem this guy's going to have, is he's got to somehow get himself back over here to this. And that could be a problem if I can hold on to Dijon. So, boy, real quandary here. You do want to keep a reserve in place of sorts. At this point, wow. So I'm going to ask the two of you that are watching, do you think I should just keep fighting for Lille, or should I just pull him back so that I can pull a guy off the Somme to go to the south and try and build some sort of a next line of a defense? Because I don't know. Let's see, how far can this guy get? Can't really get all that far. I will have enough points to bring back my airplanes. So that's one of the problems with the French, is they don't seem to ever have enough physical armies once you break this front right here, the Sedan front. Once you break through here, France gets wider than the French really have armies to defend. The Germans have enough armies to make a continuous line, and the French tend to have gaps. So, definitely don't want to go into this hex, because then it's just, there's no terrain bonuses. I could go behind Paris, basically defending the Channel ports, and let them run south and get themselves out of supply, but then I don't have anybody to attack with down here. So that's one of the reasons why I'm thinking maybe I should go to like here. Yeah, I think I want to go here with this guy, if I can get him to move. Hello? There we go. The French are off and running. So we're going to put the French, is that the 8th Army? 6th Army. French 6th Army is going to go just outside of Vichy. This is to, I mean, he might still try to take back Dijon. He's got to open up supply. He's got to hit Lille, Paris, and Calais and stuff. Taking out this fort is nearly impossible. Without the airdrop marker, and frankly, you need heavy artillery to make it work. Otherwise, you end up having to spend your armor. It takes like an armor and 2 infantry, and then an armored and an infantry, and a paradrop and 2 airplane sorties, and then you might maybe take the fort. And that's essentially an entire turn just to establish your supply line. It's almost easier to go ahead and face the British air and just take your lumps and attack enough times that you can finally beat them. Best way to do that is you have to bust through here, where the French 7th is. If you can bust through here and get 2913 cleared, then Calais becomes isolated, and you can actually get the British kicked out of there. So that's the goal. I think with the French, we're done. We're going to try to hang on at Lille to slow down the whole process, especially if I get poor weather. It'll be much harder for him to move forward. Might even get this guy to go to no supply. So that's something. I think we're done with the French. Now, the one thing that they did do with West Invaded is they did give me this. I can now move all these guys. Before West Invaded, I couldn't move anybody down here. Now I can move people. So now the question is do I bother with the British? One school of thought says sit in Alexandria, wait to make sure that the Italians are coming in, because if they don't come in, then the Western Desert Force can go like up to France to maybe guard the last city or something and keep France in the war longer. Okay. If the Italians come in, basically, let's say they get a pro marker in Italy this turn, okay, this diplomacy phase, and then they conquer France, and Italy comes in immediately. If I do not have the Western Desert Force out here, at least into this space, or over here by the edge of the desert, the Italians will simply run up adjacent to part of the Nile here. And then I'm going to have to kick them out attacking across the river. And I don't have a lot of extra tanks. I only get one tank. I don't have any aircraft down here. So me pushing those Italians, I mean, it's going to be 0-0 going across the river. It's going to be hard, okay? The Italians can, if they throw their airplane in, come up with a +4 one time, and then a +2 several other times. You can be a +3 with your tank, and then +1 the others. You should have a fair idea that, yeah, you'll get retreated, but you shouldn't be destroyed, unless, of course, you get 6-1 splits like we got in France. But you can't do anything about 6-1 splits. You have to kind of play the odds. So, it's kind of it's a quandary. Do you leave this here to threaten to, move him around and do reinforcing and all this other stuff, or do you try and defend Egypt from early Italian incursions? I'm one to go for early intel, to stop your early Italian incursion. Must be a lot of server traffic because it's just like, wow. Because if the Italians come in, I will get to place two garrison units. I usually put one in Haifa and one right here on the border. If they set up, infantry, convoy, and a fleet right here, number one, there's Med Fleet, might very well just end its existence anyway. But I will then rail something into either Alexandria or Port Said, and move the other guy in during my turn if I have to prevent him from doing an invasion. It does cost the German his surprise attack marker. So, everybody's like, "Well, you're just going to invade with this." It's like you have to really think about the Germans and their surprise attack marker. They use it again. They don't have any threat. If they have it sitting in their pocket, the British have to keep things at home. Otherwise, if all they have to face is home guard, the Germans can, with 3 aircraft, get themselves ashore at Southampton, which is all they really need. They can fly an airplane in here. This airplane can reach home fleet. They can rotate in aircraft, make home fleet become a 0 so that they can keep themselves in supply. They end up with 2 units here, and all you've got is one little garrison. Guarantee you England is going to fall. No matter how fast you think you can get things back there, you can't. Because they're going to hit a whole bunch of factories, which is going to limit your production points. And then, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, possibly 14 will, right off the bat, out of 20 in 2 turns. It's hard to come back from that. Plus, you'll also have lost 4 factories. Very hard to come back from that. So you tend to have to keep something back here. Now, with that in mind, and I don't do this right away, but something to keep in mind, it does look like France is going to fall really fast, which means the Germans might be tempted to say, let's go for Spain and go straight for Gibraltar, which is why I leave Gibraltar garrison in there. If it's late, like say France is still around and it's September, okay, I would be tempted to, as long as the BEF is on a port somewhere, I would be tempted to do the swap. I would take Gibraltar garrison, put it in Southampton, and take the BEF and put it in Gibraltar. From Gibraltar, it can try to sail across the Mediterranean in face of the Italian fleets if it's a super emergency, or they can go around the Horn if there's no Spanish, possibility. If they've gone east and taken guys over here. What am I scrolling down for? Stop that. If they've taken guys way over here, if they're going over here for a Yugoslavia and Bulgaria and Turkey and all that, if they're going this way with their attacks and their allies, then you can pretty much abandon Gibraltar for about a half a year before they'll be back to threaten it. So it's a very fine balance that you have to play. But 2 garrisons sitting where I have them sitting, if you have one sitting in Southampton, so he has to roll the dice to come across, it makes it a little bit more dicey. Plus, you'll have an airplane. You'll see one of my tricks and traps. At some point, I will have a convoy that's going to end up with 6 sorties, and I won't be able to rebuild it because I'm low on production points. I will tend to put a convoy that just sit in London, and then I will have the airplane sit back so that it can't be harassed by the German aircraft. Some people like to have the airplane sitting right here at London so it can intercept the fleet. But the Germans, if they really want it, they can swarm you with 3 aircraft. They can take care of that. They can get across with escorted in the face of home fleet. They can, in poor weather, they can get across into Southampton. Then they can use up the rest of their sorties to take out home fleet as best they can to make it kind of ineffective. If you get it to -4, it's ineffective in poor weather. It can't stop the supply. And 2 German infantry units sitting right here in supply is a nightmare at Southampton and Birmingham. So that's why if they have to attack at Southampton, they can't get across to Birmingham. Some people even say, go ahead, give him Southampton. I'm going to sit in Birmingham because then when he lands, you can just isolate him. So then the Germans tend to try to go after Plymouth, and you can kind of see it coming because the convoy has to make a long trip. And again, it's all gamesmanship. Anyway, I think I'm done with the West. Okay, I've done a lot of yakking about things I want to do and things I'm thinking about. Like I said, I'm a little bit more paranoid about the Italians getting an early start into Egypt. I would rather make them have to fight their way through. Because if they want to send their airplane down here, then that means that airplane ain't helping them in France, and it ain't helping them in Russia. So I'd rather have them down here banging on the British than elsewhere. So we're going to go ahead and pass. I am going to leave this up so I can show you about the voluntary elimination phase stuff. Raymond, hi. Oh, I'm missing some. It says I have 5 people on, but I only see 3 names. So who else is watching? Who are you out there? Yes, Raymond, welcome. There's okay, again, we're going to do this supply all except for the convoys. The Germans had a huge breakthrough. I don't know how much you've seen. I've been talking a lot about possible strategies for the future. But the Germans managed to get a defender eliminated after they had pushed the defender at Sedan. They had pushed him back, and they got a defender eliminated there, so the armored could get across the Marne. An infantry unit came up and pushed the first motorized French unit, got a DD on it, so it got retreated. And I went ahead and I took a chance and I sent the 18th around to Dijon, and the French have taken back Dijon because he's at low supply. So that's where we're at. Well, this guy's going to definitely be at unlimited supply. So I have these guys see, now here's where I have to do the supply runs. And the reason why is the Germans have this surface action marker, and they can place it in Antwerp, and Antwerp can get all the way out to Sea Zone 7, so they can intercept me. Okay. If I'd have been thinking, I would have probably had the French Navy and convoy here. I probably should have just had them move to Marseille so then I could supply without worrying about this. But this also gives me a chance to show you how this all works. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the BEF. So you click on the unit, or you can click on the unit over here, and you say, where are you going to go to supply? So I'm going to go here. It says, okay, yeah, you can supply there. It's only 2 hexes. And then I tell it to use the convoy. And because the Germans can intercept, and I really don't want to take the chance, and the French fleet doesn't have much else better to do with it, so I'm going to go ahead and confirm that it's going to exit. You have to click on it so it's highlighted like this. If it looks like that, it's not escorting. If it's bright like this, bright and clear, then it's confirm escort, and you'll see over here that it will say, when you do the confirm escort, over here in the log, it will tell you French fleet is ready for escort. That tells you that it's escorting what you're doing. So now your naval path is go here and go here. Hello, go here. Confirm that, and then up will pop an interception box. Now I get to choose. Do I want to do this? Right now, the answer is no. It's fair weather, so the French are at -1. I'm at +1 because I'm German. He is -1 because he's +1 because he's a French fleet, and -2 because of sorties. So he's at a -1, and I'm at a +1. So even if I win that one, then I'm at a 0 to his convoy, which is at a -2. And even if I win that one, he has 6 total sorties on his convoy. Even if I was fabulously lucky and got a DD3 on that convoy, which means a 6-1 split, he still would have 3 sorties left, and I would have no way of intercepting him, so he still would supply the 2 units, and I would have just lost the surface action for no good reason. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until I can hit British convoys. Once I can hit a British convoy doing supply, the British will be facing a harder production point issue because of strategic warfare than the French. So I'm not going to bother to do it. Now, one of the things you can do is say, no more interceptions for French 1 convoy, and it just gets to finish this mission. You also can say, no more interceptions for this phase, which is what I'm going to do here to save some time. And if you click on that little button, and then just say, stop interception. So he confirms the naval path, and now when the box comes up, a little supply box is going to come up, and it's going to tell you, hey, I can have this go out through the UK first convoy. Okay? Well, that might be all well and good, but I'm going to save those British convoy sorties for when the French can't be here. And I'm going to go ahead and use, now this is where I'm saying you can click on the map for the unit that you want to supply, or you can click here, and it'll jump you to the spot in the map. I'm going to have him go here. Maybe. I can click in the right spot. I'm going to use the convoy. But since I know that the reason why I know is when I go to do the move, you see that's not red anymore. That means he's not intercepting anymore, so I'm not going to bother to confirm the thing, and I just get to go there. Ta-da. And I'm in supply. And the reason why I did that is because I can get both these sorties back for 3 production points of the French, and the British don't have to spend anything. So again, just trying to get used to the idea. And then we're going to go ahead and supply all. So we're going to supply the Western Desert Horse. And voila. Now you do have to be careful about just sitting that supply all when you see it looks like, oh, he's not intercepting me. All these guys are going to, be supplied. If you're not careful, it will spread out. He tries to optimize total sorties on your convoys, not necessarily economic numbers of sorties. Because like in this case, he wanted to put 1 here so that each one would have 1 sortie. But that would cost me 3 French and 3 British to bring them back. Whereas by putting a second one on the French, it only costs me 3 French to get my sorties down to 0 on both my convoys. Because these guys stay at 0. So you kind of have to watch. That box is really nice. It gives you an idea of who can do what and who can be supplied how. But a lot of times, especially as the West, you actually want to do some of that manually to make sure that you get your counts right. And as the Italians, you'll do the same thing with your convoys in the Med. You'll you'll go, oh no, I don't want 3 on that one and 2 on this one. I want 4 on this one and 1 on this, because then I have this one can be at full sorties next turn, and this one will only be at 4 sorties. But then I have one that's at full sortie, so I can make sure that enough units get supplied to keep my offensive going. So you got to play. You got to pay attention to the supply things. Russians, not so much. Very seldom do you use the convoy to supply somebody, and if you do, you don't really care. It's just a fact of life. Russia's a land army. They don't play around in the ocean very often. The odd surprise invasion, maybe to conquer a minor or something, or to take something like Königsberg, which is important, but otherwise you don't. All right, so the Soviets over here, we're gonna continue our how do you say it? Mastrovka? I can't pronounce it. It's the deception. There's a Russian word for it. Anyway, read it in a book. That's why I know it exists. I'm going to go ahead and move up there and make the Germans think I'm going to be forward defensive. There's a lot of talk about the Russian army not being able to hold. I have played 1, 2, 3. I've played 3 people now. 4, actually. I played 4 people that all do a forward Russian defense. 2 of them were very poorly constructed. 2 of them were actually pretty good. As good as can be expected from the Russians. In all 4 cases, I killed between, I think the worst one is I killed 8, and the best one is I killed 11 out of the 13 mobile armies the Russians ended up with. Because if you get all the states, you get 6, and you start with 7 actual mobile armies, and you got 2 guys in the forts. And they had 1 guy in. They didn't have 1 guy in Viborg. They had all 13 down here. So, and I killed 12 of them, or 11 of them. He had 2 guys left, plus the 5 he gets right after East invaded. And he really didn't know how to go about doing anything, because he had absolutely no armies. And it was, he kept putting a few armies in front of me, which at that point, once I'd killed that many armies, he probably should have just started setting up along, the Don and the Moscow Bologoye line, because, it'll take me a couple turns to get there, and by then he'll have all his armies back. But he kept putting them out in front of me, and so I kept on killing them. And, 22 armies or something before the end of the summer, 22 or 24. It was a lot of armies, and 24 will points that you can't get back for the Russians really, really hurts, because you're going to lose the cities in the in the east here anyway. Sooner or later, you're going to lose all these cities, and you're just going to have to take them back later. But I mean, I took like 24 or 26 points just from armies, and then you get another 40. I think I had 46 from the cities that I had taken, because I ended up being able to take more cities because he didn't have enough armies to defend them. And so it came out to being something like he had 20 points left going into the beginning of 1942. 20 will points going into 1942 is hard to maintain the Russian presence. It just is. Anyway, that's about all I'm going to do with the Russians. You will see my attempt to defend Russia is slightly different. I do make it look like I'm sitting up front, because I do not want them to come over in like a poor weather April and get a jump start on me, because I don't have any units here at all. So I do have units sitting on the line, but I tend to have them all lined up in such a way that they can actually get back to halfway decent defensive positions. There will be a few sacrificial lambs at the front, like usually about 3 or 4, maybe even as many as 5. And then the rest of the army is already back in its assigned defensive positions, so that the extra 5 armies that show up can bolster those defensive positions and hopefully hold them during the next fair weather turn, and so that all the armies that he knocked out come back, and you end up with this sort of wave thing, and you slowly but surely try to retreat, trying not to lose too many armies, and you want to end the year with above. You really want to end above 40, but that's usually not doable with a proper German super offensive. I like to end the turn with like 30. If I can end the year with about 30, I have a chance of hanging on through 1942. Not much, but I do have some. Because I get some quality units then. So, I think I don't really see anything else to really do with the Russians. So we're just going to pass. Okay. Yeah, we can skip that. We don't need to look at that. So, and we will just supply all because we know everybody's in supply. Now, I did this on purpose. I did not check the skip the voluntary button, voluntary elimination button, so that you could see how to do this. In order to do this, if you want to get rid of something, like somebody's got 6 sorties and there's no way they're ever going to get back in supply to be able to make a difference or whatever, or they're in the just, maybe you have like Med Fleet sitting in Malta and the Germans just keep bombing it to 6 sorties. So you just want to get it out so you can rebuild it so it can be useful somewhere else. You have to highlight the unit and then say confirm, or say eliminate and then confirm. So it's a 3-step process. Highlight the units you want, say eliminate them, they'll come out of this list, and then you have to hit confirm. You do anything you want to not do that, then does it not? Yeah. So if they're all sort of fuzzy like this, then none of them are selected. I'm not going to eliminate anything, but I wanted to show you how to do that in this module because it can make a difference later on. Now, the Germans have 13. Amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down my convoy, and I am going to go ahead and do all 3 airplanes, even though it doesn't matter. What do I have? Oh, no, I can't do all 3 airplanes. Oh, shoot. I screwed up. Well, I don't have anything to build, and I can't do the convoy, because I got to do the shenanigans. I actually moved a couple too many guys. I want to be able to pull out of the cup, right? So I have to go down here. I have to look at my airplanes. Who do I not need? See, this airplane can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can help in the south. This guy can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can somewhat help in the north. The one thing that the guy in the south can do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He can try to hit the guy in Vichy, right? So we're going to go ahead and do him. And this guy, obviously, he's the one that's closest and can hit this airplane down here. So we got to do him. But we're not going to do the other one because I want to be able to pull from the cup. So I'm going to leave myself with 7. I'm not going to do any more replacements here. So we're going to confirm. Now, in the west, this is kind of like, okay, obviously he's getting flipped over because that's important that he be at full strength. I have 13 left with the French, so I'm going to go ahead and just go get me my airplanes. Okay. Get me my convoy back. And I still have 4 left, and the French should have nothing else to build this turn because the guys just died this turn. So we'll go that way. Now the British have 15, so they can afford to. That's the convoy in the Med. I'm just going to go ahead and clean it up now in case I can't do it later, and then get some sorties back on fighter command so I can help defend Calais. And then we'll confirm that, and I don't think the Russians have anything. So now we're to diplomacy. This is why I had to say this, because now the Germans have 3 out of, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that 9? 3, 6, 9. So they've got a 3 and 9. That's a 1/3 chance of getting a pro marker here. So they're going to go ahead and pull one. And I got an area seized. Now this is a mistake the Russians made last turn. I didn't go over this earlier. At some point I already had an area seized in there, and I put a second one in. And that's the mistake for the Russians. This is one that I do agree with, that a lot of times if you've had diplomacy the way diplomacy worked out, the Germans do not have a pro marker in Sweden, and I don't want to give them one in Helsinki, if at all possible. Yeah, I don't get this factory, but not having to worry about the northern border and I can just devote myself to down here is much better. Anyway, I am going to take Lithuania. Maybe. It's thinking about it. It's updating. It's done it. So I pick up Lithuania. I'll get a factory and that. But because there is another area seized in there, at some point somebody's going to pull it, and I'm going to have to take Karelia because you cannot not take a seeded area if one's available, and one's available. So by having both areas seized in there when I only had 2 countries left to do, mistake on my part with the Russians. I should have stopped and just left just one in there. Force the Germans to put the area seized and a no event in, and force the Germans to have to do all the pulling to make that happen. But now, like, the Allies could pull this turn, and then, that's bad. The British did save, so they will pull. Hopefully, they aren't going to get the area seized marker, and they pulled a no event. And now the Russians have to think. Okay, they really don't. They don't want the area seized to come out. Okay, because that would give the Germans 50-50. So the question is whether you throw in 2 no events to let the British keep pulling, or do you pull a no event and a political failure in and say, that's it, we're done with the Diplomacy Cup. I think at this point, we're going to go 2 no events to give the British still a chance to get that political success to do something, and just dilute the cup some. So we'll back down to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They'll be back to 1/3 chance again. Okay? So I think we're going to go with the no event. And I've got anybody. Deceptionikov? No, it was like Mestrophic. I can't think of how it was said. Um, oh, Constantine. Good question. Actually, that's a good question because it's a subtle thing that people don't realize. The 18th Army is more than 2 spaces from a rail line that goes back to Germany. It's like, here's 1, here's 2. That rail line doesn't go back to Germany. It has to go through Paris and up through Calais, or it has to go through this fort. When I was in Dijon was the same problem. 1, 2, that rail line doesn't get through. It doesn't go this way. It has to go through this corner or up through that corner. That's one of the reasons why it was a gamble on the German part. If I could have gotten lucky and held on in Dijon, then I have sort of a point out here where this armored unit could, like, swing across and clean this guy up and still get himself back in supply. And, maybe do some running around to just try and grab a bunch of cities. And so what if I'm in low supply? If I have you down to 2 will points, I don't care. Kill a couple German units and then I conquer you. So, but it was a gamble, and I'm still in the same problem. I'm 1-2 away, and I have no way of moving right now into supply. I have to get this guy out of Dijon in order to be able to allow this guy to move in, or I have to, like, clear out this whole section over here or clear out this fort. And as I discussed, attacking that fort, you can attack it with an armored and infantry, an airplane, and a paradropper on it, and do that twice, and you might. I mean, it's like a 50-50 shot at best that you're going to actually take the hex. And if the first attack fails, the second attack is pointless. And it would be like 4 of your units used up and a couple of airplanes and your airdrop marker to maybe open a supply line. It's usually better just to say, no, that's okay. We'll go do another thing. Now, I may let him go to no supply and let the French try and go ahead and attack him. And if he doesn't die, then I can just remove him and then rebuild him next turn. That's probably what I'll do when the next turn comes up. Okay. It's like Mastrovka or something is the deception thing I was trying to quote. I'm not really sure But so anyway, so yeah, the Soviets are just they're gonna dilute the cup again. Definitely not putting in another area seized. And if we get to the end of next turn without the Germans getting, getting a pro marker, I may seriously think about just saying, okay, the West is done pulling, and we're going to put the political failure back in to completely dilute the cup out. All right, so now we're into June, and we have to check. Oh, look, I got fair weather in June, so this is going to be a whole lot of stuff going on here. Now I have to think about this. I could just, declare war on the Netherlands and just take them. It wouldn't be hard. But I'm in that same quandary. There's still that political success in there. And there's a threat that they might throw a political failure in at the end of the next turn. So I really want to save the Netherlands to sort of like be in my back pocket, that there's always a free sort of get out of jail free card where you can just like, okay, I'm going to declare war on Netherlands this turn, take Rotterdam because he can't defend from all directions. If he puts it in Rotterdam, you just have somebody run across the straits and capture Amsterdam. If he defends in Amsterdam, you just move in and take Rotterdam. If he tries to defend the Hex, you just move in and take Rotterdam. So it's it's catch-22. The Netherlands is going down whenever the Germans want it to. And by keeping it in my back pocket, I'm not going to declare war on it. I'm going to keep it in my back pocket for that what-if scenario. These are little things that that people say you have to plan for the possibility of the West getting Italy. This is part of that planning to try and make sure that they don't get the attempt to do it. Now, once they put the political failure in there, I'm in a real world of hurt if I can't get a pro marker into Italy. So I'm hoping I can get a pro marker into Italy in my next poll, and then I'm a little bit safer, let's say, because all's their political success would be to take mine out. So that's why I'm not declaring war on the Netherlands again. I'm going to let it be, let it go. Nobody else is allowed to declare war. So we go on to transferring points. I'm not going to give anything to the Romanians. The British are going to give one to the UK because it is, sorry, I'm going to give one to France. They're down to 15 points because of strategic warfare. Since strategic warfare starts, you'll notice the Germans are down to 26, and the British are down to 15 now. It started at 16. We each lost a factory because of West invaded, because they put the factory loss marker went on our charts. See? So now, instead of having 14 factories, I have 13 because I'm -1. And instead of him having 9, he has 8, so -1. So he's, but I always give one to the French because the French tend to be able to use it better because they have more ground units and air units and everything, and it's usually they need the points more than the British. British have one armored, have one ground unit, one airplane for right now is all they're contributing. That's 5 points if you have to move and fight with the airplane and replenish it. Is 3, and then moving your guy is 2, and you might spend another 2 to have to replenish him. So that's a grand total of maybe 9, and then he would still have 6 left to be able to play in the Diplomacy Cup. So once the Italians come in, that's another story altogether. But so far, we've been keeping the Italians out. Now, the Germans have to decide here whether they really want to try and hit the British early. Since I have fair weather in June, and I know I'm going to have fair weather in July, I'm hoping I'm going to be getting an advantage here really fast. So I'm actually going to go ahead and waste my submarines now to make sure that I don't. The real reason why is any kind of 6-1 split, let's say. Actually, a 6-1 split here won't matter, but let's say there's a big split in, like, they get a 5 and I get a 3, and I would lose a factory. That hurts Germany more than the British losing a factory, because Germany needs almost every point. I've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 and 9 is 19 out of 26, and 5 is 24, which means I have like 1 or 2 more guys I can move, besides what you see all here in France. So, wow. I'm really cutting it close here on what I can move and what I cannot move. So it's kind of important that I don't lose a factory this turn because I have fair weather. If it had been poor weather, I might have... No, I still probably would have done it because I know I'm going to have fair weather in July. So I have to make sure that I'm not going to lose the points for July. I need all 26 for July. So that's what I'm trying to do here with the subs. We commit. And it thinks about it. Server's very busy this morning. Okay, so with a DR, the Germans don't lose a factory because I can't go any lower than 1. And the British, the Allies, go up a factory because they're 4 divided by 2. So 6 to a 2. As it is, if I hadn't used it, I still would have won that, but you don't know. It could have been the other way. They could have had a 6 and I could have had a 4. And if that were the case, then they would end up with a 3 and I would be a 4 and neither one of us would have lost a factory. So that's why I did that. And then it also tells me that my submarines will come back. Where is it? And now he's very, very lucky. The German submarines are coming back in 1 turn. So they'll be back next turn right away. Now I do have an airdrop marker, so if I need it, I can try and punch through something with using my airdrop marker. So I did not lose it in my Norway thing. I tend to try to not use it. There's always a 1 in 6 chance that it'll go away, and it's very, very useful against forts like Gibraltar and Alexandria if you're attacking there with the Germans, and or things like Moscow and Leningrad and Sevastopol. That airdrop marker is invaluable for the Germans. It's the only one they have that will make the enemy be -2. The West has partisans and airdrop markers. The Russians have 2 partisans markers that they can use later on in the war. The Germans, all they ever have is their airdrop marker. So you try to use it sparingly. Use it when you absolutely need it to do things. Okay. Now here's the I don't know what we call this. The German aircraft shuffle. Play your favorite form of dance music, because that's what we're going to do. We are going to strategically move this airplane over here to just past Posen. Actually, we're probably not going to be able to bring this one. Well, this one we might be able to bring back. So we're going to go ahead and put that here inside Poland. Takes its long railroad ride because it has 6 sorties. Oh, maybe. He's thinking about it. There we go. That's where we're going to go. And now the West can do a strategic movement. I forgot I could do a strategic movement. I really don't think I have one. So I'm just going to skip them. And the Soviets. Let's go to Soviet Union. Where are you? What the heck? We will go ahead and, just so that I can say I did something, we will go ahead and rail him to there. Maybe. There it is. Sometimes I think the exact point where you have to click on the hex is not really clearly defined. There you go. And we're off. Okay. All right. Well, that was that nonsense. Oh. So, it's my actions phase. What's going on with my map? There we go. Well, first things first, let's see how well our frontline aircraft do. It's going to be this aircraft. It's going to go after this one. It's -2 to -4, and I got super lucky. Yay for me. So now we're going to have this aircraft go after this one, which I'm probably not going to be so super lucky because he's only -3. So it's -2 to -3. Wow, 2 6s in a row. That's amazing. Very good German aircraft eye rolls. All right, I'm going to go ahead and have this guy finish off this one. So that'll take care of them. Third lift. Come on. End. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the first lift out of Poland. And he's going to fly all the way here. And then we're going to take him again. And he's going to fly all the way into probably Sedan. Or Brussels. I think we'll go into Sedan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. Yeah, Sedan gets me all the way to Le Havre and Vichy. So we'll go ahead and... Well, we could go crazy and just go straight into Paris, but that's silly. I think we'll go here. Maybe. Come on, airplane. There we go. So now I've got 4 sorties from him and 1 sortie from him to use. And the French don't have any sorties. They do have a tanks. So they have to decide where they're going to use their tanks. I tend to use my tanks early because if you don't and you get like one of those DE results on the first die roll, then you kick yourself for not using the tank. So, well, first things first, we have to see if we can get into Lille, right? Because Lille's important. So we're going to go, stop that. We're going to have the 1st Panzer start off, maybe. We're going to attack into Lille. We're going to go ahead and use up the airplane that's in the back just so I don't have to worry about that. So I'm at +5. Now, you could try to save the tanks for, like, say, Paris or somewhere down here in the south. I think holding on to Lille, making the tank take at least 2 attacks to take me, is more important. So I'm going to try and get the die roll here. We confirm. Like I said, I tend to use the tanks early on key things. That's a factory text. Now, that's the only place I could retreat. He got an 11. There was nothing I was going to be able to do about that. So the tank's going to take the hex. Maybe. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and attack again. But now we are plus... So now we're +4 to +1. I'm not going to waste the aircraft here because I'm going to need the aircraft to support my infantry attacks, like into Paris and stuff like that. So I'm going to save the aircraft a little bit and see what we can do. So we're going to confirm that. Commit. Okay. So I rolled a 4 + 4, he rolled a 5 + 1. So 8 to 6 is no effect. So we'll go again. Sorry about the slowness of the server, but it's just... There we go. It's not wanting to come through. Now I have 3 movement points left after this. So now I'm wondering if I really should use the airplane so I can get adjacent to the Somme, because I'd really like to try and push across there with infantry and stuff. I don't think I'm going to take Calais this turn, unfortunately. Does not look like I will get away with that. Oh dear. I don't know. Sylvia Jacobs, welcome Sylvia. awr.tech. So I've got a few people watching. Decisions. I think I really want to try to get this thing, so I'm going to go ahead and do this because I want to be able to take an attack across the river, possibly. So now I'm +6 to his +1. Let's see if I can get a good die roll. We'll go ahead and commit. And we did get a DD. Okay. So that's good. Now, I could go ahead and take a shot at +5 to +5 on Calais. It's very unlikely that I will take Calais if I do that. But it might be worth it. Of course, I could also just kill the French unit. But I can probably do that with my infantry and not use aircraft. What do you guys think? Should I go ahead and take a pot shot at Calais, or should I try to break the Somme? Anybody want to give me a comment on that? I'll wait a few seconds to see if anybody says anything. Okay. Well, no one's saying anything. We have been fabulously successful so far. So I think I'm going to just make him use up British assets, because he can't really afford to lose Calais. And if I make him use up his tanks marker there, then he's going to be less dangerous on a counterattack back out of it. So let's just go ahead and do that. We're going to attack into Calais, throw in our airplane. As the British, I'm only a +1, he's a +5. I have to hold Calais. So if I use my tanks, what's going on? Use my tanks, I'm up to +3. When I throw in my airplane, I'm up to +4, +5. +5 to +5 is very unlikely that it takes a really big split for the Germans to force me out of Calais. Sending move to server, it's thinking about it. We have to do the airplane. I'm -1, he's -2, so we have to do the airplane combat. See if anybody gets more than one sortie. The Germans got 2 sorties out of that, so the British did well in the air. And a 4 + 5 is a 9, and a 2 + 5 is a 7, so almost a big enough split. You need a 3-point split to force it, and that ends the 1st Panzer. It also means that I don't have a lot of sorties left here to do anything with. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with the armored unit. He's got 3 attacks at +3 to +1 to try and take out the Alpini. The idea here is, oh, do I want to do that first? I don't think I want to do this. I'm going to back up a little bit. Confirm. No. Undo. Will you undo the move? There we go. All right, we're not going to do that first. I think what we're going to do, I think we're going to go ahead and try and get so I get 2 attacks with him that way. Yeah, I think we're going to go like this. Hello. And we're going to go ahead and attack here. So we're +2 to -1. We're not going to use our airplane. We're going to save our airplane possibly for Paris or Dijon. I haven't quite figured out what I want to do first. So, and now I do get a no enemy zone of control. Defender retreated. Okay. So if I move here, now I could attack into here, and I could be 3 to his 3. So should we take the chance? I think we're just going to go for it. Maybe we won't get Paris this turn, but then again, maybe it doesn't matter if I take Calais. So we're going to throw in our airplane. He'll be throwing in his. Because I'm +3, and again, I got to hold Calais because it's a supply corner for the British, or for the Germans, and if I hold it, then they don't. So we confirm, and we commit. And then we have to do the air combat. Again, he does really well in the air. And he does really well on the ground combat. So lots of 6s for everybody there. More for the British than the Germans, but that's the way it goes. So we've done okay. We eliminated an enemy unit. Now we don't have much chance of taking things. This attack is basically to force the Dijon guy to retreat so that I can move this guy back into supply. So that's why I'm doing this. So it's +3 to +1. Okay, defender has to retreat. At this point, come on. Okay, I could retreat back to here. I'm pretty sure the Germans are not going to pursue me. Here I would be in the open, so he'd be +4 to +1. If he does pursue me here, he's still only +3, and I'm heading back towards my position in Italy. So, and now as the Germans, I'm like, no, I don't think I want to go there. So we're not going to go that way. We instead are going to go up here, and we're going to take a shot to get across the Somme. Okay. So it's +3 to +1. This is why I was hoping to save the aircraft, but those AS2s kind of said no. So we commit to this, and I got another defender retreat. So this Panzer's pretty good at this, getting these defender retreats. Now, I don't have to worry about it this turn because he's out of attacks. But if I go here next to Paris, he is isolated. So I think I want to go here for this turn. And then the Panzer is going to take a chance and go stick his nose out. Hello. And he's done. Now, I don't have a lot of good attacks left anymore. One thing I do want to do is put this guy. I'm not going to take Dijon again because I'm in low supply. So if I go here, maybe. Wow, machine. I'm trying to figure out why this thing is so slow. My goodness. Must be at the scale that I have it at. I think I'm just going to go ahead and sit right here with him. Actually, I shouldn't do this one first. I should see if I get lucky somewhere, right? See if I can get into Paris. Yeah, we're going to undo this move. We're going to take our... We'll be +1 to +1 against Paris. See if this works. Probably won't. Usually doesn't. I have a couple attacks against Paris this way. I swear. Okay, so it's +1 to +1. And we're thinking about it. And it's an AS. So I rolled a 2+1, he rolled a 6+1, so completely stopped. Not likely to get a decent attack on there again. So kind of out of things to do. Unfortunately, this Panzer will not be able to retreat, which means he's going to have a good chance of hurting me badly. I'm going to go ahead and move the 12th up here and attack it. 0 to +1. Yeah, I probably should not have put that Panzer across the Somme without air support here. I could be in a lot of trouble. So I probably should have done this as an assault the last time, because this is not going to work either. No effect. Okay. So where are my extra units? So I'm down to 19. If I take away 5, that's 14. So that's 9. 5 is 14. So I can actually move like 5 guys. I'm going to go ahead and move this guy in Bremen. Maybe. Oh, it still says that I can. Yeah, okay. So we're going to move this guy in Bremen. Move him into Antwerp. Stop there. We're going to move this guy like we were going to do last time. We're going to get him back in supply, but set up to be able to go after Dijon again. So the French are holding out fairly well. And no more comments lately. See, the 14th, even if you should push the 1st, can't really go anywhere because of this whole supply thing, 1-2 to a supply source. Until I can force Calais here and Paris, my supply situation is kind of screwed up. And I just realized I might lose the 2nd Panzer, or at least have it flipped by the Germans, so I need to save some extra points for that. So, let's see. I need to use 5 for... I'm going to do some math here out loud. I'm going to need to save 5 for the Cup. We're going to assume that that armored unit of mine is going to get flipped over, so that's 2. Right? Oh, where's my mouse here? I don't think... I have a garrison to build, but that's not really that important. So 5 and 2 is 7. And I have to bring down at least 2 airplanes, so that's 6 more. That's 13. Yeah, so I can probably move these guys. Actually, I don't need to move this one because since I didn't leave him in supply, he can't reach anywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5. He won't be able to get there. He's going to have to do it by a rail. So, no, he's going to stay. He's going to stay here. Not him, not him. We're going to move this guy down to the convoy in case I need to ship him over to get him back into Europe where he can be useful. And that leaves me with 16. I think I'm going to stop at 16 here. Like I said, I've got at least 6. I need to do at least 2 of these airplanes. So that's 6. Got to save 5 for the cup. That's 11. So that only leaves me 5 points left. 2 for this armored unit if he gets flipped, which he probably will. He's got enough force here that he can probably force me to be flipped, if not eliminate me outright. If he eliminates me outright, this offensive is going to fall apart very quickly. So I need to save 2 for that. So 6 and 5 is 11, 12, 13. That leaves me 3 more. If that's the only thing bad that happens to me, then I can bring that convoy down to 2 points, which would let me bring that infantry over and bring a garrison up to help do the finishing and garrisoning of Norway. So that's where my plan is. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to say I'm done with the Germans. I'm going to go ahead and skip the voluntary elimination phase because I'm not going to be voluntarily eliminating anyone. And then again, we can do this. We do the supply all. Unlimited supply without the convoys. Leaves me just these 2 guys, and I do not want either one. This is a nice shortcut too, that you can just go ahead and click both low supplies, limited supplies here out of Oslo, and it saves my sorties on my, and it shows you the sorties. Like if you go here, it says, oh, he's going to use a sortie. And if you go here, it says, oh, he's not using any sorties because I took all my sorties off. And then just say supply all, and he's done. He's done. There we go. So now it's the West. We do have a few little shenanigans we can do here. One of the things, since I've remembered to do it now. Oh, not this guy, not this guy, not this guy. What we're going to do, stop that, undo. We're going to take this convoy. Maybe if I can click on it. That convoy, we're going to escort him with the French fleet. And then we're going to go out here. We are going to leave the Atlantic because I'm not really worried too much about the Atlantic. We're going to go around the Horn, through Gibraltar, and up to Marseille. Okay, we're going to confirm the naval path. I'm not going to intercept that particular combination. I do want to be able to intercept other things this phase if the British, like the British convoy, if you should happen to use it. And so we go ahead, confirm the naval path, and you should just see this thing fly around and end up in the Mediterranean. And there he is. So now the fleet does have 2 sorties, but the convoy only has 1. If it supplies the British, you know, they'll each, the fleet will be at 0, whatever. And if there's any threat of the Italians coming in, you most likely will move that French fleet to Gabe so that they can interfere with Italian supply. Okay. So we were talking about what to do over here. So I can put I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this guy back. Actually, he can't get the Italians in this turn, can he? So let's not do that. I'm going to have a guy to build next turn, and I have a guy to build this turn. Okay, so let's try. Don't think that I really know what I'm doing here. I've never found a good defense for France. I'm just trying to do the best I can with what I've got. So I'm going to put him there. I'm not going to attack because I don't have any air or tanks. So I'd be +1 to +2, and I can't really afford to be flipped. I don't have that many production points to begin with, and I want to make sure that I can get my airplanes down and stuff. But we are going to try to take out this armored unit, or at least flip it, cost the Germans pain. So what we're going to do is we're going to call for assaults because he's +4, so he's ridiculously powerful. And we're going to go, as my one friend says, we're going all in. Okay, and the reason why we're adding the British is because then I can add British Air. So then I'm going to start with the French 7th. So right now, the French 7th and the BEF, along with the 10th, they are +3 because he's not coming across the river. And then I can throw in the airplane and I become +5 to +4. It's not much of a margin, but if I can get a DR, Pyrrhic victory, I think the worst that I can do to him, 11 to a 5, it's a 1 in 36 shot that I actually get a DD. If I get a 6-1 split in favor of the Allies, I would get a DD and kill the Panzer. So that's why I'm even trying it. And other than that, I have a fair chance of at least flipping it. He has the points to flip it back over, but let's make sure he uses those points for that and not something else. And so we commit, and we see if we get the 6-1 split. Did we get it? No, we did not. He's got 5 + 5, 10. He almost got the 11. And he got a 2 + 4, so he almost got the 1. We're 1 point off of each, and that's the difference. If this had been a 6 and that had been a 1, it would have been a DD, and I would have been eliminated. So there's every time once in a while, there's that 1 in 36 shot, and people go, well, why did you bother to do it? It's like, it's a 1 in 36 shot, and the French aren't going to hold against this massive amount of everything anyway. So the idea here is to cut your losses, kids. What the heck? This does put us at a disadvantage with the British air foe. So we do have to kind of seriously watch out for any kind of sea line that could be coming. One of the reasons why Home Fleet is sitting in Edinburgh, because it can interdict into Sea Zone 10. So we do have to pay attention. Okay, I don't think there's really much else that I want to do. This guy's in a good position. This guy's, this kind of like River City, -1, -1, Paris, -1. We couldn't hold the Somme, so he's going to bust through here. The only thing I can think of is you could just say, to hell with it, and back up. But I decided to go after the armored unit and take my 1 in 36 shot. So what I probably will do is I will probably put up the build. The build will probably go in Le Havre, maybe. Or I might put him in Nantes, which is far away, and then move him up next turn. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do, is that way this guy can retreat to Le Havre. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Okay, we're done. We're done with the West. There's not a lot to do with the West. And we're going to go ahead and skip the elimination phase because we're not going to eliminate anything. We've got to do the supply. Now here, if you go down here and look, you'll notice that both of these are going through Marseille. This is an exception to the balancing your convoys. The convoy up in Brest, the British convoy up here, he can... Did I see? Nope. This convoy here in Brest can be intercepted by the Germans from Antwerp. So he goes and looks in his algorithms. He looks and says, look, the French convoy in Marseille can supply these 2 units without being intercepted. So he gives you that as his default. So you can kind of look at this, and then again, if you do this way, supply all with no convoys, then you get down to where you just see the convoys, and you can see that they all can be supplied without having to deal with interceptions. You'll get 1 on the 3rd convoy and 2 on the French convoy. The French convoy, I'd rather have it go up than the British because, the British need to spend those 5 points on diplomacy. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Supply all. We go over to Soviet Russia. We're just going to move a bunch of guys up to make it look like we're doing the frontal defense line. So this guy is here. Hello. Hello. Come on. Wow. This thing's really slowing down. Move that airplane up. Maybe. Move this infantry here. Wow. It really wants to take its time, doesn't it? Ultimately, we're going to have to get another infantry down here, so let's take this guy and start him on his journey to the south. And we're going to go ahead and put this guy here. Maybe, if the computer will let us. It really is slowing down. Crazy slow in its reaction times. Okay. So I spent some points with the Russians. I'm down to 24. Oh dear. And then I'm done. Again, it doesn't. I know what the Russians are doing because it's my mind. I know what I'm trying to defend there. I know what the Germans are going to try and do. So this makes it. This is more of an exercise just to show you what you can and cannot do. Okay, so the Germans have 16. Remember, I got to stop and leave myself at least 5. But I want to make sure the Panzers face up. So I'm going to do him first. Okay. And now I want to have the first Luft up because he's the one furthest in. Okay, that leaves me with 11. And then, was it the 3rd Luft? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, the 3rd Luft could reach the guy in Vichy, so I think I want to have him be the next one up. Now I have 8 left. Now I do have a garrison to build, but I don't think I really need the garrison right this moment. And I think if I get the convoy down to 4, I can bring back... I don't have a garrison to take back up there because I didn't leave one on the ports. Dum 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 dum. The only one I have on a port is in Antwerp, and it'll get intercepted by the British Home Fleet because his home fleet can reach into Sea Zone 11. I screwed up. I screwed up big time, didn't I? Oh well. That's the way it goes sometimes. I am going to bring down the convoy, but I may not move the unit this turn until I get a garrison in the right place, so I can swap them. Oh, how silly of me! I am not paying attention to what I'm going to try and do next turn. That's one of the things about this game. You got to pay attention to what you're going to do next turn. Okay, because it matters. Like in this case, it's like I had this whole plan, and then I go and look and say, now where will I pick up that garrison? I don't have one that's in safe harbors in here. Because the one I had, which was in Bremen, I moved to Antwerp, and I probably should have moved this garrison down that way instead. So, dumb me. So even playing yourself, you make ridiculous mistakes like this. So we're done. We're going to do the same thing we did last turn. This guy's going to be railed over to the east, and that other airplane's going to come back with only 2 sorties on it, so that I will have another set of airplanes with only 2 sorties. Now after that, I can't do that anymore after July, but hopefully I'll be far enough in July that I won't need to. That I'll be able to go and do what I need to do. So the British have 13. Do they? I don't think they have anything that they can build at this point. Where's my? We're gonna go down and check the build cards. The British do have an airplane that they can build. So they want to save. They're at 13. So they can go. If they go 3-6, that would be 7. They wouldn't be able to do the thing. So they're going to leave this convoy. They're going to go ahead and rebuild fighter command. Okay. The French, of course, are going to bring back both their airplanes because got to keep the Germans wasting their sorties taking me out. The French still have 8, so they were going to go ahead. They have 1 guy to build. This is something you got to pay attention to. They have 1 point to build because it's a regular infantry. So it costs 1 point to build him in the build phase. So I can actually bring down my fleet to 0 and my convoys down to 1. Okay. And then the British need to save. They're saving 5 for the diplomacy cup, and another 3, which would be 8. So they're coming up a little short because they gave a point to the French. But that's okay. This guy can wait. He can go up to 2 sorties, and then we'll bring him down later. Because you get 2 sorties for the 3 production points, so waiting till he's at 2 sorties is not a bad idea. And then the French should be able to build their infantry guy, and the British should be able to build their aircraft. We're going to have decisions to make there. The Soviets should have an improvement. Hello? Hello? There we are. So they just go ahead and replace their airplane because they've got tons of points and don't know what to do with them all. The Germans are not going to mobilize that because they want to save 5 for pulling from the cup. Now here, the French... hello? The French Second Army needs to go somewhere. It's going to come in flipped over. So where am I most likely to see him break through? Where a flipped over unit would be just a free will point. That's the way I have to look at it. And the way I look at it is I think that the place to put it is in Nantes, however you want to say it. It's either there or like in Vichy. I don't see him making huge breakthroughs here because his armor went to the north. And what I'm worried about is him busting through here and just like running around and grabbing all sorts of ports. If you put him in Cherbourg, he can be isolated. If you put him in Le Havre, depending on how well he does around here, he can end up having somebody on this side and attacking from here, and it's isolated. And it's a flipped unit. If it was a full unit, I might not worry so much about the isolation. But being flipped, he's going to be a -1. So I'm going to put him here so that by the time anything gets here, at most it's got 1 attack and probably no air cover. That's my thought. Okay? Now, the British. Normally, by this time, I'm seeing the Italians in the war. And it's, a problem for the British to maintain both the Middle East and up here in northern France, since we don't have the Italians in the war. And I've really expended fighter command ridiculously. I'm going to go ahead and build the first RAF up here in 3, 4, 5, okay, in Southampton, because I still 1, 2, 3, 4. I can still get to Calais. So I'm going to go ahead and build him in Southampton. So now I have some extra sorties to help defend me in Calais. So the Germans are going to be hard-pressed to push me out of Calais at this point. Okay. Now, a lot of times, if the Italians were pushing me really hard in the desert, I would build this in the Western Indian Ocean, this first RAF, just to get an airplane down there to stop the Italian air from doing anything to me. So there's a reason why it's here, is to try and keep France in the war as long as possible. But ultimately, I'm going to wish that it was in the Mediterranean. And I'm hoping I can be able to get it there relatively easily. So that's that. That's building, and I think the Russians actually have something, don't they? Yes, they got a guy. They got a guy because they got a country. And when they get a country, they get a guy. Where do I want to put him? Where do I want to build him? Let's build him. Oh, what the heck? I don't know where to build him. Let's put him in Kiev. Oh, no, I can put him in Lvov. Can't I? Yes. Let's just build him in Lvov. Oops. Nope, I built him in Kiev. I'll move him next turn. I don't care. All right, the most important pull of the game, maybe. Germans are going to go ahead and spend their 5 and pull for a marker. And they pulled a no event. So the West, while it's still relatively safe, is going to go ahead and pull a marker. Hello? And they pulled a no event. So now the Soviets are stuck with the same problem they had last time. We still want to let the West possibly pull that political success. So we're just going to go ahead and put in the 2 no events that were just pulled. We're just going to reload them back up. And we're back to July. Where am I at? I'm at 2.5 hours. Okay. Once again, I'm not sure I should go ahead and declare war on the Netherlands at this point, because that political success is still in the bucket, which is a scary thought. And I don't know how far I'm going to get here in July, so I'm not going to do anything there. And we should be to strategic warfare. Hello? Oh, no. Give money. Now, both the British and the French are at 14, so I'm not going to give one to the French, because at 14, that means 5 for the political cup for the British, leaves them only 9, which is, you know, like 2 aircraft and this, or 2 aircraft in their convoy. So they're starting to already feel the pinch because of massive sortie use on their aircraft. So they're not going to give anything to the French this turn. I could try to go after the British again with my sub. And I think it's worth it to make sure that no matter what the die roll is, I have a very good chance of not losing a factory, which is the whole thing I'm worried about. So I'm going to commit my subs again. The Allies got through because I rolled a 1. So they got their factory back. And my sub now is delayed 5 turns, so didn't work out like I wanted, but at least I didn't lose a factory. So I've got my full supply not only in July, but also I will be my full production points in August. Okay. Strategic movement. We've seen this shenanigans before, right? So he will strategically move way over here. Maybe. Takes forever. Wow, this server is really slowed down. I really want to try to get this last turn in. This August, or this July turn, and see how far we get. And we may have to pick up midway through the French invasion. For those of you that are still on with me, I see there's only 2 of you left. Would you prefer that I do this more often than just on Saturday mornings? Because I could probably do it like on 1 or 2 days during the week as well in the morning. around 9 o'clock. Probably would be able to do a little bit shorter sessions than these 3-hour live streams. Let me know, either in the chat over here, or let me know if in the comments, if you're watching this later, if you'd like to see these a little more often. Okay. I know I don't have a lot of viewers. It's like 4 or 5 at a time. I do seem to get about 70 views of this, so people are watching it after the fact, or at least parts of it. I am going to try to go through and do chapters on these, so that, like by turn, where each turn goes, but I have to go in and watch them and write down the times and then put them in the comments for everyone. Excuse me. So the West strategic move. Do you really think I should move this guy? I want to be able to replace this guy, so I don't want to strategically move him. The only one I could think of to do would be the Alpini, but the Italians don't even have a pro marker in them yet, so I'm not too worried about them. I think I'm fine. I don't see a strategic move here for the West. And the Soviets, I mean, I have 28 points. I'd rather move them than strategically move them. So I'm not going to do that there. So we're going to go to the Axis operations phase. We know, again, shenanigans. This airplane. Takes him long enough to recognize that he's exit. We come flying back over here. Wow, it's going to take me forever to get this turn done. I'd really hoped that we would get through the entire summer of 1940 and see where we stood. All right, let's get this guy further into Germany, because or into France, I should say, because I have a feeling I'm going to probably need him for longer range hits. Right? That's the way I'm thinking. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in front of Paris here, so that I can maybe have enough reach to get where I need to go. I'm going to end up dealing with a whole lot of British air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I have to, I can go there. Okay, so let's do the good grief machine. So I'm going to go ahead and go after the French. I did really well last turn. I got DR2s. I don't expect to get those this turn. Oh, I got another one. My airplanes do really well here. He can't really help me anywhere. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to have him hotshot the fighter command. Okay? Because that's the only other thing he can reach. He really doesn't help me with any combats down here, does he? Because I can't really take Dijon until I open the supply line. So I think it's more important to just try and chip fighter command, because I do need to take Calais somehow, some way. So if I can just chip them for one sortie, because I only have one sortie to lose, so even if he gets an AS2 on me or something, I don't care, because I only had one sortie to lose. And, like he did. He got an AS2 on me, but I only had one sortie to lose, so it was basically going to be a sortie for a sortie no matter what. Very highly unlikely that I would get a DR2 or anything on him, but at least it chipped him down a sortie. Which then lets me have the first Luft's got to take out this Frenchman first. If I get really lucky there, I might chip fighter command again. Wow. Takes a while here. Oh, I got lucky again. You know something? I think that bodes that I have to go after fighter command. Or do I need this sortie? Hang on a second. I need to think about this. Do I need this sortie for something? Like taking Paris with infantry? Well, I could have my armor do that. Because he's on the other side of Paris. That might be the way to go. So I might need the aircraft. Wow, what a dilemma. What a dilemma. Oh, Raymond. All right, guys. I don't know. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to keep going. We're at 2 hours and 40 minutes. The last one was about 3 hours. I'm thinking I can get done with this Axis turn, but I also am thinking maybe we should stop here. What do you guys think? You want me to finish it off, or should I stop? I'm of the mind that I want to finish it off. I want to try something here. That's something I am going to go do. Where's my settings? Up here. I am going to go and I am not going to show the tooltips on these things because it just keeps slowing us down. Okay. So, we're going to go ahead and try this. We're going to have this, again, it's guaranteed to just be a sortie for a sortie. So we're going to take on Fighter Command. Confirm. And commit. Okay, that takes care of that. So now, first things first. 2nd Panzer wants to make sure that it gets rid of this guy. It's at +4. We're going to go ahead and throw the airplane in right away. Decision time. Do you try to defend the infantry that's keeping Calais from being isolated? It's only going to happen for one turn. The guy has 8 movement points left. Or do you save it for Paris in the hopes that you can make some kind of a stand there and slow him down? I think I'm going to save it for Paris. Or maybe a channel port if you. So we're going to let it go. I'm going to probably regret this, but we're going to let it go. And then we commit. And yeah, an 11 to, even an 11 to a 5 would have still been a DD. Right, so probably better that I didn't use it because it still would have been a DD even if I'd have added 2 with the armored. But now that I'm Defender Disrupted, I can't go back into Le Havre because that's just too much of a temptation for him to come and just bang me. And then he can still move back and take on Paris or something. So I'm going to actually go here to this river. It lets me. Now the Germans have to make a decision. Okay, they can move here and then they can attack and try to bust out this way. Or they can turn around and just, let's take Paris. You know, let's push him out of Paris first. If they go here, and even if they take this, they can't just move away. They have to actually eliminate this guy because they're in the zone of control of the British. So right now they have the British isolated, which is what I was trying to get. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm just going to try and push him out of Paris first, and then I might go ahead and take a pot shot across the river at him. So we're not going to take that hex. We're hoping to push him out of Paris, and then I can have, if I can take him out of Calais and get him out of Paris, then I have a supply line, and then I can do lots of other things with my infantry and do all sorts of shenanigans and running around. So that's what we're going to try to do. So we're going to go after Paris, and again, we're going to use, we're going to have to use the airplane. We confirm. This is where I'm going to go ahead and use the tanks to try and use up his movement points. Because if he doesn't get anywhere this time, then he has to attack me again, and maybe I can use up another air sortie and movement points, and just trying to use up his assets. And that's what it did. He got a 1+1 was a 5. If I had not added the 2, his 6 to my 4 would have forced me to retreat. This makes me not have to retreat. So now he has to attack me again. But now he also knows that I don't have a tank anymore. So he's going to come back over here. He's not going to have enough movement points to do anything up here. So he's not going to be able to get into the British per se. I'm going to confirm that we're on attack. And now I have a dilemma. I think it's more important to take Paris at this point because I'm trying to establish a supply line for August. So I'm going to go ahead and commit the airplane. It's +5 to +1. And I managed to not take him out. Well, what about that? So I'm stuck there. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, this could be a very long time for the Germans. Huh. What to do? Okay, well, this could be disaster waiting to happen. We're going to start the first Panzer. He's going to attack in here. He's going to have maybe 3 attacks. His first attack, right now he's +5 without the airplane. The British, obviously, they have to try and hold. So they go ahead and confirm. The Germans are not going to use their aircraft on the first attack. And a 9 to a 10, so it's no effect. So we're going to keep going. Yeah, well, I'm in the middle of the attacks now, so I'm going to actually try and finish this. The last one was almost 3 hours too, and I kind of did the same thing. I got to a certain point and said, "Oh, look, this is time to stop." I want to finish at least these attacks here to see if I can get through to Calais. So we're going to keep going, just a little bit longer. He can throw his airplane. I'm not going to throw again on this attack. I'm not going to throw it. I'm trying to save it for Paris if I can. The British, again, they're trying to hold on for desperate to keep the supply line open. So they're assuming I'm going to throw the airplane, and I'm not going to do it. So, and they hold to no effect. And then the last attack, this one is important to get to Paris. So now I throw in the airplane. I took a calculated risk. Now I'm +7 to +1. Confirm the attack. Hello. And commit. And he gets a DD. So now I get to show you one more thing. Normally this would eliminate a normal unit, but the British have naval evacuation. So they're going to use their naval evacuation. And they get to go back to Southampton. They could have gone to like Cherbourg or Le Havre too. Maybe that's what I want to do. Can I undo that? I don't think I can undo that. But that's almost an invitation to getting whacked by the Germans. So the Germans will go ahead and take the hex. And then Fighter Command will just go ahead and fly back to London, because why not? And then I'm not going to move forward here. That's so that my infantry can move forward there. And maybe have a pot shot. So he gets activated. He comes here. He's only going to have 1 shot at this guy. But he's going to be +1 to +1 to -1. So maybe I can get a retreat. So that's what we're trying to get here, is trying to get a retreat. geez, machine. And I did. So I got a 5 plus 1 is a 6. He got a 5 minus 1, which is a 4. Just enough to get a retreat. So now he has to decide which way to go. If he goes here, like southeast, like he's trying to build a line, then I can have infantry go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, I can run all sorts of places here. So that's not really a good choice. It does leave open the space. I mean, no matter what I do, he's going to be able to get somebody behind Paris and isolate Paris for his attacks against Paris. So I'm kind of screwed that way. The thought in my mind is that I want to try to slow him down on getting to the Channel ports. There's really not a good defense here. But I definitely want to stick on a rail line in case I need to rail him at the beginning of the next turn. I think I want to go this way because I don't want to have him just run across this river. I want to try to make him have to, run around in circles a bit. So we're going to go here. Or are we going to go here? If we go here, we guard both rivers. We both guard both rail line crossings. We are at -1, so if he comes over with something that can actually hurt me, I could be eliminated. But that's true in any case. Yeah, I think we'll go here. It guards both rail lines there. Now he could come across and attack me again, which seems like a right proper thing to do. But if I do that, then I can't get isolation on Paris. I could also just move into Le Havre and just take the points. What is he at? He's at 12. I think killing the army might be better because I can always move something from behind here to run up and grab Le Havre, right? Just got to grab it before he gets to building anything. Now I can't go much farther than this because I'll run out of supply until I take Paris. But I definitely want to be across the Seine. So I'm going to go ahead and take the hex. Hello, take the hex. We'll attack him again. Now we're +2 to -1. See if we get lucky and get a DD. If we retreat him, we can't really chase him. Yeah, all he got is a retreat. So we can't really chase him wherever he goes. Oh, come on. Again, this infantry, if he gets through Paris, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Don't want to let him get to the ports, right? So I think we're not gonna. We're gonna go. Man, I can't win. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. He can get across the Loire that way. It's really a quandary on how on what to defend and how. I think I'm gonna go back this way. Now, if I take this, I won't be in supply unless I know that I'm going to take Paris, and I don't know that I'm going to take Paris. So I'm actually going to stop the first right where it's at because I am in supply there because it's 1-2 to Calais and then back into Germany. Stopped. There we go. Now, we do need to figure out a way to get him surrounded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6, 7, 8. Well, it's 7 or 8, so we're going to have this guy go. Oh, he can't get there. Oh, because he's coming across the river. So, never mind. He's not going to do that. He's just going to sit there for now. Come on. Undo. We're going to send the 7th. While he could run to get to Le Havre, I think it's more important that I surround Paris so that I get isolated attacks on Paris. Oh, geez, come on, server. Go a little faster. Part of my problem here is that this is just, the server's just taking way far longer than it should. Okay, so now we're going to attack into here. So we're at least +3 to +1 for this first one. Confirm. Commit. Whoa, wow. A big 6-1 split on the first shot. DD. That is huge. That is huge. Because what that does is that lets me go here. And as much as I'd like to go take Le Havre, I think the better move here wow. This is insane. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I would just push him back in there. So maybe I go try to kill this infantry unit over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boy, oh boy, I don't know what to do. Success. I'm like, oh my goodness, too much success. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could get all the way to there. I would take him down to 3. Then I have to fill in with my infantry. And I think we're going to set it up for an August conquest. Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to... Oh, I didn't want to do that. Undo that. See, if I do this... And he can get to Cherbourg. But if he gets to Cherbourg, he could get trapped. This guy could come down here and try to attack this Frenchman. See, one of the things I'm trying to avoid is running over these airplanes, because right now they're in range of my airplanes. So I don't have to worry about, catching them or whatever. So I'm trying to run around them. And I'm just trying to think, should I come down here? So I can come down here and try and get this flipped guy, where I'd be +2 to -1, trying to get a DD. And then I could move over here to try and trap him in Nantes. He's got a guy to build, so he could build in Cherbourg, but then he'd be isolated. He's down to 5 points, and I think maybe... this is the better place. So we're going to go over here. And we're going to go ahead and attack here. So at +2 to -1. Confirm. Commit. And I got a DD, which is what I was looking for. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take that. And now I do have a... Hello, taking the hex. We do have a supply line out there. So what we're going to go do is we're going to go try and... set myself up to be able to get into Cherbourg and or Brest and or Nantes. So he's down to 4. I need to get 2 cities. And I don't think I have enough infantry movement points to get 2 cities. Well, if I take Dijon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can't quite take 2 cities. Can't quite take 2 cities this turn, so I'm not going to get him down in July. He's going to last till August at least. But with that in mind, I think I'm going to go ahead and put myself... Don't want to put myself in jeopardy of being wiped out. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to put myself up here so I have a situation where I can possibly isolate both Nantes and Cherbourg and still be relatively secure myself for retreat routes if he decides to come running after me. So that's where I'm going to go. Hello. End the guy's turn. We will go ahead and see if we can't, since we now have to establish a supply line here is a problem. So we're going to be running around here a bit. He does have a surprise attack marker, so I can't just leave Antwerp open for him to invade. I do need to probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, these two don't actually need supply because they're within 2 hexes of here. If I take Dijon, I have to build up supply. So let's see if I take Dijon, then I have to do this. How many points do I have left? 18? Yeah, I'm going to be running out of points here pretty soon. But we're going to go ahead and see if we take Dijon. If we take Dijon, then I have to establish a supply line. +1 to +1. Is it even worth doing? If I save 18 points, I can do 3 aircraft. Yeah, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to cancel. I'm not going to do any more attacks. I think I'm done. I'm pretty much done. I've got a zone of control here, so he can't just walk into Paris. And he can't just walk into Paris. He's got to fight to take on Paris at this point. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it as it is. I only need to take 2 more cities to collapse France and conquer it, and then I can move forward from there. So I think I'm going to plan on doing that in August. So I'm going to say I'm going to pass here. Oh, yeah, I'm going to pass. I'm not going to move these guys up here because I want to save all my points. I can do 4 guys, build a guy, and still have 5 left over for diplomacy. So I can replenish like my convoy and 3 aircraft. So that's what I'm planning on doing here. So yeah, we're just... Oh, wait. Yeah, we can do that. If he wants to go there, we'll let him. Okay, so we're going to pass. Germans are going to skip their voluntary elimination phase. Supply everybody that's on land. And then both of these guys, we're going to keep them in low supply to save the sorties. And go on. So now we're into the allied phase. I'm a little over 3 hours. So I think we're going to cut it here. Need to think about this for the allies anyway. Major disaster. It's July turn. I have 4 will points left. Germans couldn't quite race far enough. If I could have raced far enough to get Cherbourg, I would have tried to take out Dijon, and if that had happened, then they would have fallen in July. But it looks like it's going to be more like an August thing, and it's going to be a full-on push with a couple armored units to make sure that I get through whatever line they put up. I don't see any really good way for the French to regain any of these cities that they've lost. If I'd stuck myself out at Dijon, he might have had a good way of, regaining that city. So right now, the French are pretty much on the ropes, and the British need to think about getting ready for what's to come, if Italy comes into war or any of that other stuff that's coming, most likely. So we are going to stop it here. As always, I'm Gen608. If you like these videos, you need to hit the to the southeast, huh? Really? Yeah, I'm across the Seine. I didn't want to bother crossing the Loire because I don't need to win. I only need to take either Dijon and Cherbourg or Cherbourg and Nantes. And I have my armor in the north where I can pretty much guarantee an isolated Cherbourg if he builds anything in there, which he's going to have to, or he's going to have to ship the British in there, which again will give me isolated against the British. We saw how well that works. But if the British are sitting in Cherbourg, I can, concentrate on Nantes, and he does have to plug the lore because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can run to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can run to here. So, I can grab one of these cities. So he's got to put something along the lore here. He's got to put something. He's got to keep something along the Seine. He's got to garrison Dijon. And after political phase, who knows? He might have to actually put something on the Italian border because, I'll be coming that way. So he's both got to guard the channel ports and southern France here because there's an open gap here. I mean, I could have gone across, but then he could have brought units behind me to cut my supply and possibly isolate me and eliminate me. And I'm trying not to lose any German units here because I really don't want to deal with that. I have plenty of time to take him out. I'm not really going to try to do a sea line because he has both airplanes here. Even though they're both exhausted at the moment, so are all mine. And in a race between the two of us coming back up, if he has two full aircraft and full fleet, and I have 3 full aircraft, it's a 50-50 shot on whether sea line works, especially if he leaves the BEF in Britain. And I have a feeling that he's probably going to put the BEF. I mean, I'm thinking I should put the BEF in, at least in Cherbourg, if not in Cherbourg, possibly in Brest. And so when the British convoy comes up here to move things around, that's when the surface action marker will come into play because the French convoys and stuff probably are not going to come into play at this point. The one good thing, we're keeping Italy out of the war. So even though Germany's doing this on their own, Italy's staying out of the war, which is a relief to the West. Because with Italy out of the war, there's no North African campaign to speak of. And no North African campaign means the British are pretty much free to do what they need to do like in Norway, or constantly threatening to do a silly invasion into France, so the Germans have to at least keep units over here. I do have this thing sort of in my pocket that I need to probably take care of here. I'm not sure I want to leave it sitting there as a neutral, but right now I don't seem to need the pro marker. I have a feeling that depending on what happens in this diplomacy phase, I might need to take it just to put another pro marker in my bucket. Okay, so we are going to stop here. I'm Gen608. Like my stuff, hit the like button. If you really like it, subscribe, hit the notify button. You'll be notified when you see me again. I didn't see anything in the comments. If you guys would, or in the chat, so anybody that's viewing this, if you would like to leave some comments, please do so. I will read them. My biggest thing is I'm trying to figure out if I should be doing this more often than once a week. Next week, Saturday, is Christmas, I believe. Today's the 18th, yes. Next Saturday is Christmas, so not likely that I'm going to do a stream on Christmas Day. I probably will do my other stream on Sundays. I am streaming Bard's Tale. But for this one, I was wondering if I should maybe do it earlier this week. Does that sound like a good idea? Please leave me comments. I may go ahead and schedule this for like Wednesday or Thursday morning so that we get in one more session before Christmas and we can get the finishing of the conquest of France and their desperate defense done by then. As always, I'm Gen608. Stay safe, and until we meet again, stay safe, and bye-bye.